and then call the roll, please.
Notice of the December 6, 2017 meeting of the Real Estate Commission, including date, time, and location, has been noticed on the Tennessee Real Estate website since January 1st, 2017. Additionally, this month's agenda has been posted on the website since Friday, December 1st, 2017. Commissioner Bloom?
Here.
Commissioner Douglas?
Here.
Commissioner Franks?
Here.
Commissioner Hills?
Here.
Commissioner Horn? Commissioner McMullen?
Here.
Commissioner Taylor?
Here.
Commissioner Wood?
Here.
Chairman Grease?
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. At this time, Commissioner Douglas, would you honor us with an invocation and leading us in the pledge, please? Thank you.
Father, I just first of all want to thank you for each and every member of the commission. Lord, I pray that you would give them a blessed Christmas holiday. Father, we pray for Brother Johnny as he's healing. We pray, Lord, that you would heal him up fast, get him back with us soon. Lord, we just ask you to give us wisdom, guide us, Lord, as we make critical decisions that impact not only the citizens of our state, but also, Lord, those that are in the real estate business. Give us the wisdom that we need, Lord, to make these right and just decisions. Lord, I pray that you'll give us safe travel back home, and we pray all these things in our Lord and Savior's name, Jesus. Amen.
Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Rick. All right. Next up is to approve today's agenda, which you all received electronically 3 or 4 days ago. Are there additions, deletions? If not, is there a motion? Ms. Franks.
I wanted to ask, I noticed from the minutes a couple of things. Are we going to, Commissioner Woods asked last time about business cards, discussion about that, and it showed that we were supposed to talk about this month.
Yeah, I've not forgot about it. I just like to wait about it. I want to think about it a little bit more. But yeah. Okay.
And then the other thing was the Bill Toon Award. We were going to get the criteria for it. I know that council gave that to me, but I don't know. I think it needs to be on the record, probably.
We can add that in. I gave it to everybody last month, so that everybody had a copy.
And then I'd also like to ask about, we discussed last month about the outreach by simulcast or YouTube, if we could add that to the discussions under probably the executive director.
Anything else, Ms. Franks? Anyone else? Any additions, topics you'd like to discuss? If not, Ms.
Yes, I can add it under my director's report. I thought it was on here, but I don't see it now. I wanted to do an update on the agreed citations and then also present a request.
I think that might be on your printed report. That's an agenda item. So we'll put that on there. Agreed citations.
And what was the other thing?
A request.
A request, yes.
What? A request to talk about this. What was your request?
It's with agreed citations.
Okay, just want to make sure there weren't 2 different items. Thank you. All right. Other additions? If not, is there a motion to approve the agenda as amended? Made by Ms. Taylor, seconded by Ms. Hills. Any discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The agenda is adopted. Next up is to approve the minutes of last month's meeting.
Move to approve.
I have a motion by Ms. Franks, seconded properly by Ms. Taylor. Discussion, any corrections or additions to those minutes? Let's vote. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. And if I may say so, Sherry, it's an exceptional set of minutes.
Yeah.
You really captured the meeting, and there were a lot of different things going in a lot of different directions. You did a great job on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, next up, Ross, let me say this first of all. So the plan today is to break at 11:30, gather Real Estate Commission employees, head over to Sweats. We've done this before, but basically we kind of stack employees between commissioners, and commissioners pick up an employee's lunch. I've got 4 people who've been asked to and agreed to drive. Ross is one of them. Bobby's one of them. Austin's one of them, and I'm the 4th. And that should get us to about 19 seats pretty easily, okay? So my goal this year is not to have to stand out in the parking lot wondering who's going to ride with who or who's going to drive. So that, at least that part of the puzzle is done. Do you think, Caitlin, we've got 8 or 9 people, right, coming from your staff? Plus Sarah?
Plus Sarah.
Okay. And they, we're looking forward to it. I hope they are, and it's good we get to do it for sure.
Is that 89 plus Ross and Caitlin?
Yeah.
I constantly have to recount the staff. I think there's 1, 2, yeah, I think there's
12
there's
altogether.
10 of us total and then 8 upstairs.
Well, I've got a list of staff that looks like it's about 12 people, maybe 13, but for instance, Melissa's on maternity leave. Is Ahmad going?
Ahmad is not going.
Okay, so I think we're pretty safe. I've got a 3rd row. Ross has got a 3rd row. If we have to break it down and put, cram somebody back there, if we find somebody who can crawl back there to.
Yeah, we can go in the back.
I got a bit of a truck. We can just pull
So I think we should be okay.
We'll have our own parade.
All right.
You don't mind getting your hair messed up, do you, Marshall?
And I wouldn't mind driving, but my back seats have been pulled out of mine temporarily, so.
You're sick too. We don't.
I don't think I'm contagious, though.
Oh, okay.
We'll know in a little while.
I think we're covered. All right, Ross, where do your report? First up today.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. Happy holidays again.
Thank you.
We'll move forward to the education agenda, the December 6, 2017 version before you on your iPads. I have reviewed for compliance with the rules and regulations and statutes, the providers, the instructors, and the courses for this month's agenda. I would submit to you for approval D1 through D25.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion made by Ms. Frank, seconded by Ms. Hills, that the Education Director's recommendation for courses D1 through D24 be approved. Is there a desire by anyone to pull a course off of that before we move forward? All right, I see no indication that there is such a desire, so are you ready to vote? Let's vote. Those in favor of the motion vote aye. Aye. Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. Thank you, Mr. White. What about instructors?
Likewise, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission, I would submit to you they are listed on the iPad there that the instructors I have met the compliance with the certification rules and with the statute for submittal and approval.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Frank, seconded by Ms. Hills, that the Education Director's recommendation be approved, and these instructors, by that recommendation, are also approved. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I would think it'd be interesting to see how many people go to Memphis to hear that class on, real estate and the Chinese.
So
That will be interesting. See if they get to do that a second time or not.
Yes, indeed.
All right, we're moving right along. Is Mr. Carl Points here? All right, so is your broker here with you? Okay, when she shows up, we'll get back to you, okay? Let's move on to the Executive Director's report.
So as far as outreach, I do not have any updates. I have run the simulcast by Carter, and that's something that we're going to look into doing because I think you're correct that there's definitely a benefit in getting multiple different areas to be able to view one. So I've already mentioned that to him, so that's something that we're continuing to look into from a technology standpoint. On staffing, that we do have one temporary employee that is not here on this list that I had mentioned at a previous meeting. You'll get to meet her today. Her name is Amy Brown. She's been a great addition. She's one of the quicker processors. She's got a great attitude, so I'm excited for you guys to meet her. And I've added the 2019 meeting dates. It's the last page. I tried to stay in line with the meeting dates for 2018. For the most part, they're all the second Tuesday and Wednesday of the month, except in May, October, and December. I kept December in line with what we had this month just to keep it earlier in front of the holidays. But I know this for 2018, we were a little late to booking this room, and so we wanted to get ahead of that this year. Does anybody have any concerns about any of the dates?
I got you didn't have the Arello dates, and I'm on the program committee, and so we're the ones that set those dates and things, and I did check with the executive director of Arello to make sure about it. April 9th through 13th is the mid-year meeting, and that's in Salt Lake City. So there was a conflict with the April 10th and 11th meeting.
And was the
And then the annual meeting is September 17th through the 21st, so there's no conflict there. That's at Denver.
Do you want to go potentially the Tuesday? Let me look at the calendar, but the Tuesday before for the April meeting.
I ask one quick question. So your heading says this is generally the second Tuesday and Wednesday of each month, and we typically meet Wednesday and Thursday of each month.
Sorry, that's an error. These are Wednesdays and.
Okay, I just want to make
Yes.
before I started trying to figure out how to find my calendar. I just need to change the heading.
Okay.
So that would be April 3rd and 4th if we do it the previous week. April 3rd and 4th instead of the 10th and 11th. The 3rd and the 4th of 2019. Mm-hmm. Is that what we're talking about, 19?
We are talking about 19 because when we went to book the room for 2018 this year, we have a couple dates where the room was already booked due to conflicts for other boards.
While we're studying calendars, so right now we have a calendar through June of 2018, right?
No, I think we went ahead and booked through the rest of 2018. And this is something that we can tentatively put the dates, just so I have the room, and then put it on the calendar to relook at maybe in June of 2018, just to confirm a little bit closer to time.
We're talking about moving the April meeting in 2019 from the 10th and 11th to the 3rd and 4th.
Yes.
Does anybody have any conflicts? 2 years from now.
What am I going to do?
So I can tentatively change that, and then I'll put this on the agenda again for sometime next summer, so everybody might have a better idea.
Well, let's not quit talking about it just yet. One time, the chair made an effort to try to do away with the December meeting, and we were so backed up on formal hearings that we had to come back and fill in that date. So I just thought I'd mention, see if anybody would be in the mood not to have a December meeting, maybe in 2019 or maybe in 2018. I mean, we got both years still to get to. Just putting it out there. to see
You
if
do
there's
not
any-
have a backlog of formal hearings right now, and there's no statutory requirement that you meet monthly, too. So
What about getting rid of the December meeting in 2017?
That's today, right?
Yeah.
We're going to get rid of it. You watch
You
this.
got somewhere to be?
Go ahead and head out.
Yeah, originally, I don't think it was on the calendar, or was it last year?
That
We
was
had
last
this-
year.
That's last year.
Your fifth grade boy just came out. I agree. This is the second year we've had it in December, I think. Before we didn't have it in December.
We've always had it. Last year was the first year we tried not to have it and had to come back and fill in.
that was my fault. So
Tentatively scheduled, and if in October we find we don't need it, then do away with it, or something like that.
Putting it out there for discussion. So if it's your preference right now, we go ahead and schedule these dates, and if we find a reason to have to make an adjustment, we can do that later. That's,
It does sound like we need to schedule it in order to make sure we have the room. But it'd be nice to get rid of it.
just a thought. Just want to put it out there.
You could certainly say this.
well, and if you go ahead and get rid of it now, legal can plan knowing that there will not be a meeting.
We're talking about 12 months from now, right? At the earliest.
See, but we can get them ahead of the game. Tell them they need to plan in January to not have.
It's really not legal. It's those ALJs that are the problem. Can you manage those
You
people?
said that, not me.
I mean, their schedule is a problem, or their ability to work with attorneys is a problem.
I don't mind the December meeting as much as the January. The weather's horrible,
That
everything.
microphone there so people,
Well, I don't want to use it.
you don't want to be on the record.
Just on the side.
The schedule is always subject to change. Let's just do that.
Yes.
And we do have next December already scheduled. When is that?
Do not have that in front of me, but I
Have
can.
that.
No.
December is is it the second week or the first? 5th and 6th?
What about canceling?
If we have any, that's usually the month though that if we have any rule changes that we have to have hearings and stuff.
And Erica can confirm this when she comes down, but when I met with Robin and Erica, they seem to think that there's going to be a formal hearing in January, February, like the next 4 months on the Thursday.
And Erica should be able to answer that because she would have had to file her notice.
All right. So we've kicked that around enough. Let's get these dates. Get this room.
They're already booked, so
girl.
I was just waiting for you guys to confirm, and I'll update April.
All right.
So the next thing I have is the fall meeting. We've been invited by the Northeast Tennessee Association of Realtors. We had previously been talks with another association, but the person I had been working with is no longer in that position. So this association has graciously offered, and I've been talking to them. So I wanted to get everybody's input. It's my understanding that we have not had it there, at least in the last 2 years.
What city is that?
Gray, Tennessee.
Where?
Gray, Tennessee.
Johnson City,
between black and white.
Kingsport. Yeah. It's Johnson City, Kingsport, Greenville. That's that association.
All I know is they have one fine facility. The last time we were up there, where we met was a spectacular facility.
What month is that?
October.
Okay.
And let me, while we're on that topic, talk about Jackson for a second. A few days ago, Caitlin's sort of been on my case because I said I would do this to get that thing pinned down. And I called and left a message for the executive director at whatever Association of Realtors that is. And I've not heard back yet. So I also left in that message the dates that we wanted to be there and to see if he could or direct us to someone who could secure the courthouse in Jackson for those day meetings. And I have yet to hear back. So that's still not totally pinned down, but I do want to assure Commission I'm making a somewhat of a good faith effort to try to get this done quickly. So that's the Jackson update. Unless the courthouse is already committed for something else on those 2 days, I suspect we'll get there, but I just can't tell you for sure at this point. All right, Caitlin, agreed citations, is that next on your list, or do you have something?
I have one more update.
Okay.
Gary had asked last meeting about the Trek CE coming to the meeting being promoted. So it's now been added to the website, but I'm working with our communications director to come up with more of a PDF, pretty sort of promotional material that will also be added. So just wanted to give everybody an update on that. And then agreed citations for advertising. Let's
start with some history on this, okay?
From me.
Or from Sarah, or from me, or whoever, but let's talk about how this came about to start with.
So my understanding is that this was voted on and adopted June 14th of 2017. So it predates me a little bit, but my understanding is that.
Do I need to go back further? So the first time this was discussed with you all was June 2016 by Mallory. You pushed it to July 2016. You pushed it to August 2016. And then in September it was voted on. It was presented to you all originally as the first offense for an agreed citation to be a letter of warning, the second offense to be $250, and you all voted against that, and it.
Back up just a second.
Yep.
So the
Advertising.
intent of the commission at the time was to give staff the authority to review advertising, and if there was a clear violation, to go ahead and handle it without having to try to bring it to us and describe what the advertising violation was.
Due to the problems of anonymously reviewing an advertisement.
And I know you all were having trouble with legal trying to explain to you what things were prominent and what weren't, and we were actually privy to see the document, so it was easier for us to make that.
So at some point, Commission gave the authority to staff, in particular the executive director. Is it specifically the executive director?
Specifically the executive director.
Specifically to the executive director to review certain complaints that had to do with advertising. If there were clear-cut violations, that she could go ahead and offer an agreed citation to the respondent. Now, the second part of it had to do with what would the agreed citation look like? Like, on the first violation, what would it look like, second and third? That's where Sarah's picked it up right here.
So when it was presented originally by Mallory, it was presented as the first offense would be a letter of warning, and the second offense would be $250. You all voted against that and voted, I believe, $250 and $750, and that was September of 2016. That is about the same time that we were told to not review advertising complaints, and we went on kind of a block where we were waiting for the new rules to go into effect. So in June, I don't recall how we got to 500 and 1,000, but when we voted on the agreed citations in June of 2017, we voted on 500 for the first offense, 1,000 for the second. Third offense comes before the commission. So that is where we are at this point. I will let Caitlin take it from there.
So I wanted to give you guys an update on kind of where it's been since I started. Our centralized complaints director pulled a report for me. So from September to November of 2017, there have been 12 agreed citations issued. 10 were violations of 1260.02, 12.3b. Primarily, the issues have either been the firm name not being the largest on the advertisement, or the firm telephone number not being on there or not being the same as it is on file with the commission. One was related to 1260.02, 12.125a, and then one had multiple violations. Two were 12.02.123b.
Excuse me. I don't know those by heart.
Okay, so that's
could
the
you
same
tell us
one
what
that
the
I
violations are?
That's the same one, firm, telephone number, and firm name. And then one violation of 1260.02.12c. Any advertising which refers to an individual licensee must list that individual licensee's name as licensed with the commission. So as I've been reviewing these, there have been two recently that I've sort of run into the same issue that I think probably happened before, where it's hard to tell whether the firm name and any other name on there, which one's bigger. They sort of seem to be the same size, and $500 seems a little steep for not quite a violation. And that's why I bring this back to potentially look into adding a letter of warning, at the very least for that rule, if not for all first offenses. I think it'd be a good opportunity for us to educate licensees and then look for a steeper penalty the second time around. I don't know if you guys have had the opportunity to see the letter that we send with the agreed citation, but it explains the agreed citation and then also includes the rules. I think a letter of warning would be a good opportunity for us to educate licensees on the requirements.
So just a couple of quick follow-ups on this. That letter, the agreed citation is to the licensee and also to that licensee's broker. So both have to, either or both will agree to your proposal.
The letter of warning, or you mean the $500?
Just the agreed citation.
So they have the opportunity to agree and pay the violation within 30 days, or they have the opportunity to respond, and at that point, if they do not agree to it, then it would go to legal.
And then it would come before you all.
Okay, so that's one thing. And I think it's important for you all to understand the process. I was introduced to it recently, where not even let me put it this way, as a relative of a licensee was concerned that his relative had been offered a consent agreement without the ability to respond. And in fact, they hadn't read the letter very closely that Caitlin sends out or legal sends out, and it says within that letter, you certainly have the option, if you don't want to agree to do this, to respond, and then we'll put it in the normal complaint process. I would think it would be helpful to commissioners if you could send a generic letter like that, the letter you send, so they can see in case they get inquiries or in case you want to talk about it sometime in an association or wherever you're working. It's a pretty streamlined process, but it's just now hitting the marketplace and it's causing some confusion, I think. That's one thing. Second of all, Caitlin, it sounds like to me, is asking Commission to revisit the penalties for first, second, and third violations. And I don't know if there's any mood by Commission to do that, or if you guys are happy with what is now $250 and $500.
500 and 1,000.
500
and it's per violation on the advertisement. So if the advertisement comes in as a first offense and we find 2 violations, it's $1,000. It's $500 for each violation. Third offense will always stay the same, and that's that it gets directly transferred to legal and is presented to the commission.
When that third offense occurs, do you tell us that this is a third offense?
We would tell you that 2 citations have been sent out and signed or something to that nature.
So if you guys will, for a minute, put yourself with your broker's hat on for a second, and you get an offer to agree to a citation, and it's the first you've heard about it, what's your preference? You okay with the $500 that we currently?
Well, and as a broker, if you didn't agree with it and it was the first you've heard of it, you do have that 30 days to respond, and at that point it could come before the commission and you all could dismiss it.
Didn't we send out information to everyone?
Yes, those were sent out by Notify, so anyone that signed up for notification got that in June when it went into effect.
The problem is how many people are on that notified list.
Yeah, and I'm unsure of that.
I think I heard yesterday that of the people, and this is just a rough quote, we have roughly 250,000 licensees, and I think there's only 29,000 email addresses that are signed up, and that's across all professions. So I don't have the specific real estate, but I think, we have over 30,000 licensees. So if the whole department has only 30,000 working emails, the chances of everybody getting that news is not very high.
Tell you where I think they're getting it is in the core class.
I do too.
'Cause
I
it's in
mean,
the
I think
core
this
class.
information is getting
I've,
out.
I've never had anybody come to me and go, I had no idea there was rules about signs or anything
Yeah.
like this. I think it's more of it's a gamble that a lot of them are willing to take.
And I mean, I think I did 14 outreaches this year, and at everyone talked about advertising, and I mean, talked about it a lot. So
I think my argument is that on some of these instances where it's too hard to tell, it would be an opportunity for us to educate the licensee rather than.
But I'm not understanding why they would ever be too hard to tell. My background is interior design, so I go by scale rulers all the time, and I could, if necessary, look and see this is the same, or it's larger, or it's smaller.
So, unfortunately, you're not able to see some of what we get, but they're very small pictures. So, for me to be able to say the firm name is truly larger, if not the same size, than another name on the advertisement, without cutting them all out and putting it over it and getting very crafty, it's not always as easy.
And I mean, I think that was kind of the reason we did agreed citations, is that they kind of put that on us to make that call. Like, we just have to say yes or no. It's bigger or it's not. And then if the person disagrees, I mean, they can come in and
prove it's
they can
1/8
send a real
inch.
sign
Yeah.
and say, here's the measurements, or I mean,
The agreed citations were supposed to be, or the, whatever we're calling it,
and that's, I mean, is it the same size or larger? We thought was one of those.
Mr. Bloom?
My recollection, I'm just trying to get on speed here. When we did this agreed citation guidelines, didn't we do that kind of as a stopgap when the advertising rules changed and we didn't know whether there's a violation or not because we changed the wording? So didn't we just give that to y'all to say, first one, letter of warning, second one, 250 fine?
No, it was presented as that letter of warning in 250. Then it was changed. The commission voted against that and changed it to 250 and 750.
We didn't do that in writing, though, that second one, did we? Because I've got the written rules from 2016.
Well, I know that Mallory wrote up the 250 and 750. It was motioned by Austin in the September 2016 meeting and voted on. And so that's what was prepared. But at that point, that's when administration told us not to go forward with the agreed citations because of the rule change that was being sent through the system at that point. And so all of those advertising were not reviewed until later by council, and they were all reviewed by council. Agreed citations didn't actually go into effect for this commission until July 1 of 2017. And I represented them to you all and gave you all the documents, and it was voted on.
So we know what today is, but this commission has total latitude to revise, accept, deny anything at this point. So if there's a desire to move or to change or to alter slightly or significantly, it's up to us. Fontaine?
I would say if you've got advertising that it's too close for you to call. And I think a letter then should go out in that case and say, these are the rules, and yours is on the marginal or whatever it is. Please make sure that you see that whatever on that is corrected. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's where I kind of
I would have
to
run that through legal, because we would have to say then the first offense for everything is a letter of warning, or we would have to. I mean, because
it seems like if it's too close to call, then you ought not send out any agreed citation. Just put it on the legal report.
I mean,
and
that
let
was
us
kind of
decide.
my opinion. If we can't come up with something, have a second opinion, send it to legal, let legal review it.
Probably, well, I guess legal could review it. The problem is you still won't be able to see it.
Right.
So
We still won't be able to measure
it'll be either me saying, I don't know if this is, or it would be legal saying, I mean, maybe they have better eyes than me, but.
Well, and at that point, legal could also do an investigation or something and send out and say, can you send us, to the respondent, can you send us some more information, like, you know, the measurements of the sign, or, so we could do it that way, where if it's too close to call, then just don't go through the agreed citation process and send it.
Because the agreed citation was supposed to be for the clear violations.
So it's for the clear violations, and it's also for the point of bypassing legal, period, so it's not going to legal. So it's cutting back on cost in that.
So today, Caitlin, if you see something you can't make an educated decision on, you flip it over to legal? Is that what you would do at this point?
Or dismiss it, and then the person would go on with the same advertisement, not really changing anything. Or I guess what I found is 500 sometimes seems like a very high penalty for sort of small errors that potentially somebody could correct.
There's not a single person that gets a real estate license that does not know that rule. I mean, if you had a question about it, you should ask your principal broker. There should never be a principal broker who's supposed to approve all advertising that would not know that rule. So either we have a rule or we don't have a rule.
Well, some of that's statute, too. Statute.
And I think so at this point, I mean, if there's an occasion she can't tell, then I think it should go to legal. Instead of sending a warning, if we can't send a warning to everybody on a first offense.
I have a question.
Mr. Douglas.
If I may. What's the purpose of the advertising rule? And I mean, it's not that I don't know. I mean, I'm asking the question, you know, to ask another question following that. But what's the purpose of the, you know, we're talking about font size here, and we're talking about too close to call. What's the purpose of the advertising rule?
Might want to ask your legislator about that.
It's not a rule. Well, most of what we're talking about is a statute. I mean, it's.
Okay, the statute, okay. What's the purpose of the statute?
Protect the public.
To protect the public in what way, though? That's what I want to know.
I know that the advertising statutes and rules come from to protect the public, so they know who the person that's selling or listing the property is, who the firm is, so there's no confusion.
So in my mind, if it's too close to call, it's likely they're going to know who the firm is, okay? And to me, it would maybe a letter of warning would be, I wouldn't even do a letter of warning in that case. If it's too close to call, I mean, it's not likely that the public is not being protected. If, you know, if it's so close that you can't look at it and it's too close to call, you know, then certainly the public has been protected. They know who the broker is. They know, you know, the phone number of the broker. I mean, so I wouldn't even think a letter of warning would be.
I would say that's probably what your two disciplinary counsel would tell you at that point. I mean, you can ask them when they come in, you know, if it's an advertising one, you can ask them, does it look like there's harm to the public? Could they not tell who the person was? And they can answer that question.
Most of the errors I'm saying, Rick, is not when it's a broker and then it's an individual agent name. The problem is when it's a broker name and a team name, and when and it's purposely done for the names to be so similar in size that you get the impression that either they're interchangeable, but by our law they're not interchangeable.
Right.
And that's where the problems I see. It's not the individuals normally on that part, but.
I might add, I have the report, and centralized complaints typically puts whether it's anonymous or who it's from. Only 1 out of the 12 is from a consumer. It is a lot of anonymous or...
Agents are also the public.
Yeah, and I think that's across the board for all commissions, is that when we have an advertising complaint, it tends to come from someone that's in the industry that knows the rules and is seeing the violation. I think we all know that.
Okay, so Fontaine, let's go back to your comment for a minute. You're in the mood to think a letter of warning on the first offense is appropriate?
No, I'm in a mood to think.
Microphone.
I'm in a mood to think that legal in a case where it's too close for you to make a decision makes that call.
And I don't have a problem bringing the whole packet back if you all want to look at it again next month, and I can email it to you so that you all can see what we send out, what our current schedule is, what I've given to, I wrote up the whole thing for centralized complaints so they could see what the violations were, and actually even went through and made little notes for them, like, you know, this rule is about the firm name and this rule is about the firm phone number. And
The problem with that, though, is there is harm, I feel, that this commission could be causing with us changing this rule every year, if not sooner. You know, if there's harm to the public by it, then there's harm to the public by it. And so we have the rules and we have statute that govern those things. And I think that changing it again just muddies the water, and it does confuse people. And they'll say, well, you know, I had these signs made when that was the rule. Well, now the rule's changed, so now I'm going to be in violation. You know, I think we're better off to stay where we are than to be making any changes in it.
And I don't think we need to change the rule. I was going to bring the agreed citation stuff to you, all the forms that we've done, just to make sure that you're cool with the first offense and second offense and how it's written up.
Okay.
Oh,
I'm going to make a motion.
please.
I move that we, on the agreed citations, we change the guidelines so that the first violation is a letter of warning, the second violation is a $500 civil penalty, third violation comes to Trek, and remind everyone that the agreed citations are supposed to be for the clear violations, and if it's not a clear violation, then it should go through the regular legal process and show up on the legal report. That's my motion.
Second that.
All right, the motion that Mr. McMullen has offered, that Mr. Douglas has seconded, would change the current policy regarding agreed citations, and this is really specific. Is this just specific to advertising, or are there other, what other areas are?
Specific to advertising. It lists certain rules and statutes that involve advertising.
But I thought council said that if we did it for one, we would have to do it for all violations.
This is for all of the advertising violations.
Only, okay.
We've given the executive director certain authority to handle advertising.
Okay.
I know when they were presented to you originally, unlicensed activity was one that, and you all voted that one down. So this is only.
Okay.
All right, so if this motion passes, the executive director will be authorized to, on a first violation of an advertising nature, send a letter of warning to both the principal broker and the licensee. On the second violation, and I want to ask about that in a second, the executive director on a clear violation, or in her mind, a clear violation, will send an agreed citation of up to $500, not up to, $500.
I was going to say, and the current policy says $500 per violation.
Oh,
so
that's what I want to make
clarify
sure.
that one.
Okay, $500 per violation. And on the third violation,
It goes through the normal process.
now is the third violation the second, say somebody sends in two different advertisements, is that violation 1 and 2?
If it's sent in by the same person, we typically count it as one complaint. So, you know, first one comes from person A, the second one comes from person B, and then
We would still treat it, if there's multiple violations in all of those advertisements, we would count, like if one had no firm name, that'd be one violation. If one had a different phone number, that'd be 2.
right. So like the first offense, if Caitlin gets an advertisement and it has 6 violations of the advertising rules, it's a letter of warning. The second one, if it has 6 violations, it's going to be 500 times 6.
Third, yes, just to be sure, it bypasses the executive director at that point and goes straight to legal.
Correct.
Okay. Gary.
So if I had a sign that was a violation and I had it on 6 properties, is that 6 times the violation?
Typically what we get there is we only get one photo of one sign saying, here's what the person's sign looks like. It doesn't meet the advertising requirements. So we just go off that one sign. So no, we don't go, if they say it's on 25 properties in the city, we only go by the one sign. What's wrong with that one sign?
Or if it's in an ad plus on a sign, that's 2 different things.
And specifically if they look different, if they're 2 clear different advertisements, then it would be violations per advertisement.
Fontaine.
Let me ask you this. The letter of warning, does it say that this must be corrected or anything in there, or it's just a letter of warning?
Just a letter of warning stating what the actual rules are.
So there's no time frame for changing it or anything?
And so they know what the second violation would cost them
I mean,
in that letter?
we don't put that in the letter that if you do this again and it gets reported.
Could we?
Yeah, I'd have to get that approved.
I think they need to know what the violation is. Otherwise, they'll think, oh, they just give you a letter of warning. We're not going to get new signs or
that. I mean, that's
because I
really-
know that there are a lot of people that push the point.
Signs are expensive, too.
Right.
I think your letter ought
And-
to say that they
and-
need to correct it immediately, and it's going to be penalties if you.
I think
And I
that
guess-
that something like that needs to be in it.
So they'll know.
Well,
Yeah,
then
right.
I assume my next question there is, I mean, we do get these anonymously from complainants. If we ask them to fix the sign, are we supposed to ask them for proof? And how do we know that it's the truth, what they're providing us? I mean, they could have a mock-up of a new advertisement done that's been changed, but we don't know that they've taken those signs off. So I don't know how we enforce that.
On the second
If you
hand
do a
of
letter,
that,
yeah, if you do a letter of warning and say you have to fix this within 30 days, I mean, we're not going to go out and look at the advertisement in Johnson City to see.
I know you're not going to go out and look at it, but if you don't tell them that they need to go fix it immediately, and then another complaint comes in, they're going to say, "Why didn't you just send me another letter like the other one? Why are you actually penalizing me this time?"
Oh, and I
you
think
need
that
to
we
tell
can
'em.
we can put that on the website too. That there's an agreed citation for advertising and what the first and second offense are.
But it needs
they
to
may
be
not
in
see
the letter.
website. They may only
Yeah.
see the letter. The letter needs to say.
I mean,
this
I'll
is a
put it in there,
violation.
but I mean, it'll have to go up through the. I'll push it up through the chain to make sure that
We
everybody's
would
okay
like
with
that.
it.
That's crazy. The letter needs to say you need to fix it.
And if you don't, what could happen?
It's going to get worse.
Yeah. Okay, you've heard the motion. Is there more discussion on this? Mr. Wood?
should that be in the motion?
Who sends the letter of warning?
Caitlin,
Me, along with our centralized complaints
Think the
division.
letter ought to say that you need
Yes.
to fix this?
Yes, I think the letter ought to say we need to fix this. I think it should say second offense is $500 per violation. I think if we're trying to educate them and get them to change and protect the public, then it's, yes.
so I mean, the other question that we have there is a letter of warning. What if there's 2 violations or 3 violations or 4 violations in that first offense? You're still okay with a letter of warning?
Second thing, wouldn't
No,
that would go
because it's
where
one
your
advertisement, so we
$500.
treat it as the first offense.
If there are 5 offenses, though, in the first thing, then that goes to the next mark, I think.
Caitlin, you understand the difference, don't you, between one
Yes.
violation and 2?
And out of the 12, that we've received, only 1 had multiple violations. So mostly what we're getting is 1 issue.
But if somebody really got on a vendetta and cut out 4 different advertisements a certain agent has been using, and they're in 4 different publications, how do you look at that?
I think it would be multiple offenses, because I think that should probably be treated as a second offense because it's shown that there's multiple different, they're advertising in 4 different spots with, multiple different.
At that point, you just ship it over to legal.
Yes.
Let them handle it. Okay, so the motion is first letter of warning, second $500, third refer to legal, as opposed to our current policy, which is first $500, second $1,000, third ship it to legal. That's
Can the motion have in there that in the letter of warning that they have a time frame to fix it? Or
Caitlin's sending the letter, and she says she's going to put that in there, so
Well,
I don't know.
I don't know if the time frame will, if the time frame doesn't approve, at least say that it needs to be corrected. even if
Immediately
there's
is the
not a-
word.
Yeah, even if
Immediately.
it doesn't say 30 days or something, it
Right.
needs to be corrected.
Well, I think just for the reason of the second violation may show up, having that on file that you told them they need to get it corrected,
Yeah.
whether they do it or not,
Right.
at least put them on notice.
Yes.
Bobby?
We're spending a lot of time worrying about the letter. And here's my problem. I got 2 problems, I guess, with changing. One is over a short period of time, we sure have changed our mind a lot. And I think at some point we have to stay consistent. And you have to be a parent. We're going to have to be consistent in how we're going to handle this. And I think it's time to be consistent. And the other thing is, the agents know what the rule is. They've chosen not to comply with it. And so instead of there being any kind of problem for that, we're wanting to give them a letter of warning. And then so I'm kind of like, if you're going to do a letter of warning for this, then why shouldn't we, anything that they ever violate in this whole book, let's just give them a letter of warning. And let's not have civil penalties or require more education. And I don't think we should treat, because it's an advertising thing, any different than the rest of the rules and law book. So I'm going to vote against it. And I think, even though I personally I think the $500,000 is severe, but at some point we got to be consistent, and that was what the commission voted on. So I'm going to vote against this motion. So,
Caitlin, let me ask one quick question here. So we're making it either or, 500 or letter of warning. Are there cases where you could use your discretion to either issue a letter of warning or offer a $500 agreed citation? Would you want that discretion?
I would use that discretion if given that option, because I think there are very clear, obviously, a telephone number, if it's not the same, that's very easy to see. But like I've mentioned, the size is not. And I think part of the reason that a letter of warning is a little bit different in staying consistent is because it feels like a lot of tattletelling and not harm to the public with advertising. And so I would like to give people the option to update and comply.
The other problem with it, too, is we have people that last month got a $1,000 fine for something that somebody else, maybe in their same office, because they have the same signs, is going to get a letter of warning. And I agree with Bobby. We just can't keep changing this back and forth. And do I not understand the motion to be, it's only if she is unable to tell if there's a violation or not? Or is this for all advertising?
That's how the
Is that
chair
what your motion is?
We adopted agreed citations a while back. The only thing that the motion is changing is what the penalty is. And so the agreed citations process that we approved a long time ago was for clear violations. And this motion doesn't change that at all, other than just to emphasize to the executive director that it's only for clear violations. So if it's such a close call you can't tell, you need to kick it to legal. But that's always been what our policy was.
Would it help if I went and printed out the sheet that says what the violations are? Would that? I mean, I can go
I think
print
we've
stuff.
already talked about it. I mean,
I can run upstairs. It's not a big deal.
Okay, so just to make sure I'm clear, we're talking about a policy that's already in place, and we're only talking about sanctions. And within the sanctions on the first offense, we're only talking about violations that are clear violations. And motion, Mr. McMullen would replace $500 for a clear violation, first offense, to a letter of warning. That's the essence. And the second to $500 from $1,000. Those that are too difficult for the executive director to make a decision on will go to legal, and as they do now. So that's not a factor. Okay, so the question in front of commissioners is, are you okay with reducing or mandating that the first clear offense of an advertising rule or statute is greeted with a letter of warning as opposed to a agreed citation of $500? Let's just break it down to that right now. Let's put that in front of us, and then we'll go to the second. Clear violation of an advertising statute by a licensee. So let's just talk about the first violation for a minute, and let's make the vote letter of warning or keep it like it is. Mr. McMullen's motion is a letter of warning on a first clear violation of an advertising rule or statute. If you're in favor of that motion, when we call the roll, you'll vote yes. If you're opposed, you'll vote no. Everybody clear? All right, Ms. Maxwell, would you call the roll? It's not call the roll so much as roll call.
Roll call vote.
Vote.
Commissioner Bloom?
Yes.
Commissioner Douglas?
Yes.
Commissioner Franks?
No.
Commissioner Hills?
No.
Commissioner Horn? Commissioner McMullen? Commissioner Taylor? Commissioner Wood?
No.
Chairman Grease.
Yes.
It's a tie.
That motion fails. Let's see if there's another motion now that can come before us.
Motion to move on to the next item on the agenda.
Well, so we've got a motion to move on to the next item on the agenda. If there is a desire to continue talking about this topic, or somebody has a variation of what we've talked about so far to put it there on the table, the chair will entertain it for a very brief period of time.
Time's up.
That time has expired. All right, what time is it?
Time to go to the next thing on the agenda.
9:25.
All right, well, Mr. Points is here, I presume with your broker now, Mr. Points. If the two of you would come up, our law director will swear you all in, and Ms. Maxwell, our executive director, will give us a brief synopsis of what's in front of us. If you sit right here by that microphone, it'd be great.
Just stay standing for a minute and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
All right, Ms. Maxwell.
The applicant is Carl Richard Points. His principal broker is Lee Shepard. Mr. Points has not yet taken the Tennessee Real Estate exam for affiliate broker. The principal broker, Lee Shepard, is an active licensed broker. Ms. Shepard is responsible for supervising 100-plus affiliate/broker licensees. There have been no disciplinary sanctions. The firm is Dream Team DBA Keller Williams. And the summary of disciplinary sanctions: he has been disciplined by the Funeral Board of Directors and Embalmers. Mr. Points had 4 complaints against his funeral license involving the mishandling of monies received for payment. The 4 consent orders placed against his funeral license have been satisfied. In addition, his insurance license has been revoked due to the complaints. And the consent orders are on your iPads.
Thank you, Ms. Maxwell. Mr. Points, our practice is to give the applicant the right to tell us whatever you'd like for us to know about your situation, history, current position in life, whatever you'd like for us to know. Then commission reserves the right to ask you questions. Following that, we'll turn to your broker, proposed broker, and let her tell us why she's interested in having you affiliated with her, and commissioners can also ask the broker questions as well. So the only thing we ask, Mr. Points, Ms. Shepard, is that you speak into that microphone. We're recording this session, and if you prefer to stand or shift somewhere so we can hear your testimony, that would be fine with us. We just need to hear you. So, Mr. Points, the floor is yours. And I need you to move that microphone toward you, or move toward it. There you
I've
go.
been in the funeral cemetery business for about 30 years. I spent nearly 20 years at a funeral firm in Murray County, and I did right millions of dollars in pre-need funerals. The boss that I'd worked with at the time, when I first went to work with him, always told me that if any cash ever came to the building, whether it's pre-need or at need, always would go to him, and that was the understanding of all directors and everything. That was his money, and he would do appropriately what it was his business to do. So we always would do that, and then he told me if I ever left him, he would share no expense on running me and my family, because I was with him nearly 20 years, and asked him why he would do that. And he said if I ever left his funeral firm, he would lose half of his business. And upon leaving him, he began these accusations. I have my funeral director's license. I've had them for many, many years. And so a lot of those accusations, he now has lost his license based on those allegations, but I do still retain mine.
So, do you wish to speak to each of those 4 allegations? Or you don't have to. I mean, certainly you tell us what you want us to know.
Well, you just asked me any questions about those. I was willing to turn my license in for at least my funeral director's license for a year. Robert Gribble asked if I'd be willing to do that, which is president of the funeral board. Before the year was up, he called, told me to hang my license back up, that I've been through enough to hang them back up and become an active funeral director again. As far as a pre-need license, that I can go back and reapply for those, but I chose not to. Just spend the rest of my time serving families as a funeral director.
All right, commissioners, questions for Mr. Points?
Can we hear from his broker first?
Sure. All right, Ms. Shepard, Ms. Franks was interested in knowing why you're interested in Mr. Points as a licensee. You need to speak
Point.
loudly. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. My voice does not carry well. His wife, Teresa Points, has been an agent with us for quite a number of years, is highly respected in her field. And our owner of our company is also acquainted with Mr. Points, and we understand the ordeal that he went through. I think he was unjustly accused of this as a retaliation against leaving his former employer. We didn't see any merit to that. We don't have any concerns about how he will conduct himself in the course of doing.
Okay. So, Mr. Points, so you have no regret? You feel like you've been set up by, was it Mr. Williams?
No,
the
Mr.
funeral home?
Alan Blevins.
Okay, so you believe you were set up?
I know it was, yes.
4 times?
Yes, ma'am.
And you took money 4 times?
In writing pre-needs, I'd always take money and give it to him.
You took cash 4 times and you did not turn it in 4 times. And we have agreed citations that show that you did that, and you agreed to that. Is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
So you're telling us you took money 4 times and from someone who's setting up their funeral expenses. And you see no problem with that?
Take the money because they would pay me the money, and I would always turn it in to him.
No. You have 4 charges that you have been found guilty of. And there's even in your information that you and your wife used it for travel and whatever you need to use it for.
That was the accusation.
I'm just so surprised that you would even walk in here with that attitude, that you're not sorry for what you've done, that you've been set up when there's 4 charges. And I don't understand, you know, if he were my son, I wouldn't want him to have a real estate license. I don't understand why you're wanting to take him on, knowing he's had problems with his insurance license, he's had problem with his funeral license. Why do you want to give him a license for real estate? He's going to be handling money. I'm asking his broker.
We've got.
I'm asking the broker, why do you want him, knowing those things he's been found guilty of?
The explanation that he had given to me about that satisfied me. And, you know, that is in the past. And I'm always I'm good for second chances.
In the past was April 12th, 2016.
I'm asking him if he would like to address what happened with those 4, the other information.
But I'm
he received
asking
on those 4.
you are saying you're okay that he's had all these offenses, been found guilty, and it all has to do with money and taking money and not turning the money in. And you're willing to take a chance on him maybe putting an escrow check in his pocket like he did at the funeral home? Well, I don't understand why you're willing to even look at him.
I am satisfied with his explanation that he had given me about what transpired there, what really transpired there, not what is in the records, but what really transpired there. And there are other people that know Mr. Points better than I do that hold him in very high regard, and I trust their opinion as well.
Mr. McMullen.
I feel like I have to trust the documents that I have in front of me and the hearings that occurred in the other state agencies in which it was found that he did take this money and that it wasn't turned in as it was supposed to be. I don't know, maybe it was some setup and maybe there was some great explanation, but those other agencies didn't find that there was a good explanation for it. They found that it was wrong, what happened. And so I have to rely on that, and I haven't really heard any explanation to the contrary here this morning. And so I can't support this application based on what I have in front of me and what I see. I'm just not comfortable with it. I do think handling money is one of the most important things that licensees do. And just based on this, I don't think that I could put Mr. Points out to the public to say I feel comfortable that he would handle the money correctly just based on what I have in front of me. And that's why I can't support it.
Other commissioners?
I'd like to make a motion.
Yes, ma'am.
I'd like to make a motion that we deny his request.
Second the motion.
All right, I have a motion by Ms. Frank, seconded by Mr. McMullen, that the request of Mr. Points be denied. Is there further discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion passes. Thank you both for coming in. All right, let's take, let me see my time again here. Let's take a 10-minute break. And then we'll get to Erica.
Run there a couple of these.
During the break, which is more than normal to tell you the truth, but sometimes we have complaints that are hard to describe to commission anonymously. Or sometimes we have complaints that commission doesn't feel like they're getting the full story. And a technique that we used a long time ago that we haven't used in a while is taking a particular case and assigning it to one commissioner for review so that commissioner can actually get into the file. Now, she or he is going to see who the complainant is, who the respondent is, who's the company, and so they'd be precluded from voting on it at the next meeting. But what commission would be asking is a report from that commissioner using that commissioner's eyes and review process to give us his or her take on what's inside that. So even on an advertising violation, I would think sometime if it's too close to call and Caitlin refers it to legal and legal comes in and tries to describe it and legal makes a recommendation to do whatever, and commission feels the need to have one of us take a look at it and give us their take on it from a practitioner's point of view, let's say, or from an attorney's point of view, that's perfectly acceptable way to handle it as well. So we haven't used that in quite a while, but that's something that's available to us as a body as well. All right, just something to think about. All right, Caitlin, you had a couple more items on your executive director's report, I think. Bill Toon Award, or is that somebody else's?
So we've moved forward with getting a quote for the Bill Toon Award, and we haven't ordered it yet. But if everybody is still in agreement with the candidate that everyone presented, we can move forward and hopefully have that in time for the January meeting.
I'd be problematic about when we can present that award to him. One place I know he will be is the spring meeting, and that would be in front of a whole lot of realtors, and it might be the appropriate place to make that presentation, I would think. Just something to think about.
Okay.
Okay, so if you want to delay the purchase, when is that? Is that March?
March like the 18th or something
And my
like that.
concern too was that we know the criteria because, I mean, Sarah, you handed that out?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we looked at it, and he met all the criteria. He was
For
fine.
some reason, I thought we talked and you had told me that, so.
You might
Just
have
want to
been
make sure everybody had it.
You might have been preoccupied on some other case or
No, I
issue and
agree.
just lost all track of everything else. Don't know if that was the case or not. Just a thought.
Check off my list.
Anything else, Caitlin, before we go to legal?
I guess, and y'all might not want to go ahead and make a decision, but are you fine with me moving forward with the fall meeting?
Let's make a decision. Who wants to make a motion, Diane, that we have our fall 2018 meeting in Upper East Tennessee?
I so move.
Is there a second? All right, that motion is probably made and seconded. I would assume that would be in, we don't have to identify the location as far as the Kingsport, Johnson City, or Gray. Gray, not black, not white.
It will. I don't want to commit to that because it is whoever, because the state doesn't provide it, and it has to meet the criteria of the videoing and all that. So I know the place it's been before meets that criteria, so we know we have that. I know the association, she does try to carry it around at different places, so she'll check and see. But
so if we say Upper East Tennessee, does that take care of the?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's vote on the motion. If you're in favor of the 2018 fall meeting being in Upper East Tennessee, please vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion carries unanimously. Thank you for reminding me about that. Anything else, Caitlin?
This was not previously on the agenda, and it's not on the legal report, but it's somewhat. So there was a complaint at the last meeting that John had come back and asked, have we given the complainant the opportunity to respond? Well, since that time, there's been some issues that have arisen with the complaint. And so at this time, we feel that it would be best to have a commissioner review it before the next meeting, and as a subject matter expert, make a recommendation at the January meeting. So I might ask your thoughts on that, and
So if it's subject matter, I think you're right about that. So if it's commercial, it should go to a commercial realtor. If it's new home construction, to that, or
it's residential. So if we could potentially have a commissioner in residential.
Just so that we can review, if you agree to take this case and review it, that gives you access to the file, gives you access, if you would like to contact people that are involved in the case. And your charge would be to come back in the January meeting and say, here's what I have found, without identifying who you're talking to, where they work, but just talk about the issue and what your recommendation to the full commission would be. Just like legal, we can take your recommendation or revise it or ignore it, but it would be helpful in a case like this, apparently, to get outside eyes.
I remember, I don't remember the case. I remember you saying, did you say it was relocation?
It was the complainant was relocating, and it was
It's a residential transaction.
But relocation is different too.
Well, it's like somebody moving to town, that kind of
relocation, and the issues involve the inspection.
Failure to disclose material adverse facts. That's really the only allegation. But just to caution whoever takes it, it's the largest file I've seen. So it is very massive, and it's going to take quite a bit of time. And not that would, maybe you don't even care to know that, but I thought it would be nice to tell you.
Thank you.
So I'm going to ask.
As we all scoop back.
I'm going to ask Commissioner Franks to accept this challenge.
Oh my goodness.
And if you just don't want to, just let us know. But really, here's my take on it. There's a complaint and there's a response, and then there's a whole bunch of other stuff. But really, the focus is on what the complaint is, and whether or not this commission should take a position.
There's civil.
I'll do it. Can I talk to the attorneys and all as I'm doing this? Okay.
Just remember that you're not allowed to vote.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
John, I don't know whether this is appropriate at this time, but speaking of this sort of thing, it used to be that we would have a letter sent out monthly, as I recall. I mean, this is a long time ago. And there would be a recap of not everything, but just something that Fontaine Taylor was found guilty of a sign violation, and she was fined $500. I would say.
Yeah, we still do that. It's on the website. It's called the Disciplinary Action Report. So every month we go through, and every every commission in the building puts together a document that says every discipline, that says the name of the person, what the citation was, and how much it was for.
Oh, I'd have to go to the website.
Yeah, and I mean, when it's published, we could send you all the link if you wanted that.
I would like to see that and see how it's done now.
It would be good to go out to everybody that's on that list of emails that they have even.
I
It'd be best in a newsletter,
know
though.
it used to come to me by mail.
I've got one on my desk right now.
In the old
It's a
days, and it
newsletter.
was very helpful.
Everybody read it.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah, I think we take comfort in the fact it's on the website. I think that to our members is considered it's buried. I don't think they ever see it.
It is a website, I reiterate, is not friendly to me.
So is there some alternative that we could get that in the hands of people so they'd really read it?
I mean, the only thing that I could think of is that when it does come out monthly, we could draft up something to send out a notify, but again, that's only going to go to the people that are signed up for notifications.
I bet you if you sent it out that way, a lot more people would sign up for the e-notify. Everybody goes to the car race to watch the wreck. That's what everybody wants to say.
Well, and I would say, like, I do try to promote the e-notification system. I mean, I think at every outreach, someone came up to me and said, how do I sign up for this? I've never heard about it. So I think it is important to get that out there.
Well, I think I've signed up for it and never got a message. That's what I think.
Did you do it correctly?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I'm just saying. All right. And just one more to follow up on that thought. So these citations that are agreed related to advertising that you suggest to a licensee and they agree to do it, that would also show up in the DARE report as well.
Correct.
Okay, that's perfect.
Are you going to vote? Are you going to vote?
On Marcia.
Do we have to vote on Marcia, or is it?
You have that
do you
stuff
agree
that I
to-
can take today? Or do I have to come back down here?
She can email it.
Yeah, but we can definitely print it out and get it ready for you.
I think, unless there's objection, Martha's willingness to take this case is all we need.
But I'm willing to vote, too.
Yeah. Quickly, I'm sure.
Well, maybe we should vote then.
Maybe we should.
If you're in favor of Marcia Frank's taking this particular case, and we don't even know how to identify the case, frankly, but you all know what we're talking about, please vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. And Marcia.
And I seconded the motion.
Thank you. I heard that. I forgot to mention it.
And I abstained.
And the appreciation of every member of this commission, other than yourself, is full. We want you to know.
Good Christmas gift.
Yes, thank you so much.
Oh,
Any-
wait a minute. I'm not going to be here at the January meeting.
That's okay.
Too late. We've already voted for
If
it.
you just write, like, just type it up and send it in, then we'll just we'll present it to the commissioners that way. And legal can help you with that on how to.
Somehow that objection was handled just like that.
Yeah, you can phone in.
All right, Kaylin, anything else?
That's it.
Sarah, anything before we go to legal report?
I can do the proposed. We put proposed CE rule on there really quick. I just had an update for you all. You all agreed to the proposed rule, which is where we added on the CE rule resident and non-resident, and then we also added the 6-hour minimum core course for every cycle. When that went up through the administrative process, they decided that we needed to define what the core course was, kind of, so that people knew what we were talking about, because it's not really defined anywhere in statute or rule. So we added, let's see if I can find it. We added just a little brief thing to, it's Rule 1260-05-.12, paragraph 1. It's on page 107 of your book. And so the first paragraph currently says, the commission may, in its discretion, designate that portion of the continuing real estate education required of licensees by TCA 6213-303 to be composed of specific topics. Following that, we're adding a sentence that will say, as used in this rule, core course refers to a 6-hour continuing education course covering specific topics to be approved annually by the commission. So we're just essentially saying what the core course is. But we went ahead and made that amendment to the rule and kept it going through the internal process because we didn't want to slow the rule down. But I just need you all to make a motion and vote that you agree with that addition to that rule and that you're okay with it.
And while we're talking on the name of it, does anybody else get, I have confusion when I'm talking about the core course, and then I describe our computer system as core. Is this maybe a time to call the, okay, and maybe those that have been here, what does the core mean? I mean, and is this maybe a time to tweak the name to make it more descriptive of what it really is? I mean, why was it called core? Does anybody know?
I would defer to Ross on that as the education director.
I don't have any historical background on that, Commissioner. I assume that, just in a plain language meaning, the core is the essential principles that you need to know to conduct your business and to learn what's happened in the last couple of years. Therefore, you learn about the new rules, the new laws, the new policies of the commission as part of the core, in addition to ethical matters and things that should be of interest to every agent in the state.
I'm just wondering. I mean, I'm not thinking it's time for a complete overhaul. I'm just almost wondering if we could call it core update, core essentials. To me, it makes no sense why we call it core. I mean, I like the idea behind it. I mean, I think it was always meant to be an update and kind of refresher course. I just don't. The bad thing is I'm talking about stuff and I don't have the right answer yet for what it should be. So I don't know. If y'all are good with leave it alone, leave it alone. It's just been confusing to me. Call it core, and nobody knows what we're talking about.
I think one thing that I hear over and over again, and when I explain to folks when I'm talking to them on the phone, there are 16 hours. 6 of those hours are known as the core, and they are mandatory. So they get that. They understand that whether you call it the core or mandatory CE or whatever, but the others, the 10 hours are not. So just realize that might be something that you stick with. You can stick with core. You could change it to something that would say mandated or mandatory CE time or whatever.
So
I don't have the answer. I'm just throwing stuff out.
What about legal's request to have a motion to approve the addition to the rule that she suggested? Anyone?
So move.
Second.
Motion by Mr. McMullen, seconded by Ms. Hills, that the proposed addition be added to the rule. The addition suggested by legal be added to the rule. Is that the...
And I will say, Bobby, to your point, in I think it's the instructor statute, it actually says core course. So if we changed it via rule, we'd have to figure out if the legislator would change it. So
maybe we should change the name of the computer
That's
system.
what I was thinking.
yeah, we'll get on that.
We'll call it Billy or something.
All right, further discussion. The motion is to amend the proposed rules per the recommendation of legal. But if you're in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
If you're opposed, vote no. The motion passes unanimously. And since I'm trying to clean stuff up, we also had a principal broker residency requirement topic to discuss. Is that, who wants to carry that?
I think our discussion was to send out a notify and allow people to know that this is being discussed. I don't know if it's a requirement or just a practice that we do it 30 days.
I think we're confused on our conversations. Okay. What we talked about, your advertising, business cards advertising, we talked to administration about that, and they wanted us to send out hey, everybody, we're going to discuss this. We were within the 30 days for this meeting, so we were going to push that to January, Bobby, if that was okay with you. And we left this on here because I know Marcia brought it up last month about requiring the principal broker to live in the state of Tennessee. Legal talked about that. We just think that that's probably something right now that we don't want to propose. Specifically as a rule, I mean, that's going to come back on us pretty hard when we start requiring principal brokers to live in Tennessee, with the fact that we border 7 other states, and if someone lives, in Kentucky, they could be a principal broker at a Clarksville office, and that's not really a big deal. So we wanted to bring it back for discussion. We didn't bring any proposed rules at this time, but
that's better for the legislature to take on if they want to make that change.
Could we talk about maybe having a broker live within 50 miles of the office? Is that a possibility?
You could talk about it.
That's why I mean, it didn't help before because Kingsport has a Florida broker.
But it would help in that case if they had to live within 50 miles.
I mean, is that something we can? Certainly, it's something we can.
Certainly, something that you can discuss.
But I would like to address that issue of the principal broker living within a specified distance from their office.
Bloom.
Yes, I think that's more of a problem for residential real estate. It's not a problem for commercial real estate where they have brokers who, like, for example, live in Florida, are doing business in Tennessee, which happens pretty frequently, I imagine. So I don't know if we can bifurcate the law like that.
And I would say that that would be our difficulty, is because we don't have a residential agent license and a commercial license. It's one license, so it's hard to ask some people to do something when we can't regulate it ourselves.
I think we talked about at one point, I think I made the motion and we couldn't get it passed, trying to get that where the principal broker had to be within 50 miles of the office like the agent at the time had to, for the pure purpose of supervision. It's really hard to supervise agents that are in Memphis and you're living in Phoenix. And that was the issue that came up. And so I don't know that you could regulate all brokers, but a principal broker, there's a rationale for the 50-mile rule.
Maybe that's something we could look at. Maybe February, could we?
Maybe it was something, it'd be an item the trade association, TUR, might, their legislative agenda. I'd rather it be
Try to get the
statutory.
General Assembly
thinking about
to take it up if
how they would
they think
even-
it's important.
They could probably help us.
We don't have any authority to promote any legislation. We just react to it. And so I think TUR is a good concept.
You just say TR.
TUR. It was TAR, and that's TUR. That's how I see it. All right,
That might be a good thing to discuss at the March TR meeting. when we're
maybe
there.
something good to talk about at RELO too, just to see how other states handle that kind of issue.
Yeah.
All right, I think I've cleaned up all the loose ends.
Well, you've been riding your broom.
Just checking her up, trying to get this done. I want to get to Ms. Smith, who's got the difficult job of telling us what Ms. Ryan was thinking on her reports.
And we will give a quick report. Miss Ryan is fine and at home. She went through surgery and came out perfect, we'll just say.
That's a big change.
She is very bored at home. That's the report we keep getting. So,
Is she there by herself?
her father lives with them, and I think he's 95-ish. So I think he's there to give her some entertainment throughout the day.
I don't think I'll comment. All right, Erica, good to see you.
Good to see you too.
We're going to go to the consent agenda, and I'll ask if commissioners, if on the consent agenda, are there items that you would like pulled off?
I wanted to say, number 2 is the same as number 24, and number 3 is the same case as number 25. And there are 2 number 4s.
Is that a motion to adopt the consent agenda?
See one.
I only see one four.
I only see one.
I see 2 4s.
There's 2 number 4s, but they're different numbers.
So,
There was
Different cases, yeah.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah, my copy is updated. It's not showing.
I looked it up. Well, there's 2 number 4s.
on the computer. There is.
And it was last night when I was
Not on what I printed.
looking at them. Did you print them out like last Friday?
I was going to say,
I didn't do them till
that's the
yesterday.
old, Lillian is saying that's the old version.
that was the old
Sherry sent
version.
us a second email.
I did the
Yeah.
new version.
I did the new
The
one.
new version.
Yep.
I did the old one, then the new one.
We need to make our copy.
Marcia, do you need a printout of the new one?
I've got it on here.
We can go get you a
Oh,
printout though
but
if
it
you
says
want to know.
there's 2 4s on here. I don't guess that matters.
Maybe the wrong one's on the.
I don't. Yeah,
But
mine doesn't have
24
2
and 2 are
4s.
the same, and 25 and 3 are the same.
Let me check that.
So I think we might have accidentally put the first copy that was sent to us on the iPads, which is the reason for the.
Oh, you did.
How about I will go print a new copy for everybody?
I think we're okay.
I don't need a new copy.
We don't-
Just when we get to those, I mean.
Okay.
Okay, so why don't I pull the two number 4s and 24?
I got mine.
Well,
Fine reading the number just
Okay.
because we have.
there's two number 4s and number.
In the case number.
You didn't have it.
Okay, so the case numbers are 2017 039531,
My number 3.
and then number 4, another number 4 was 2017 052941.
That is the number 4 on the new one.
Okay, and then number 2, which is 2017 039181, is the same as number 24.
Your number 2 again? What was the complaint number?
Complaint number was,
I think they deleted number
I think
2.
it got full.
Yeah.
Yeah, so number 24 is correct. So they deleted
Do you want us to talk about 2017-039181?
So our.
it's
so
the same
our-
as 24, we only need
our
to talk
new
about it one
is-
time.
I'm asking you,
Correct.
do you want it pulled off the consent agenda?
Let's,
Yeah, because 24 is Erica's case, and it looks
I
like.
guess that's all that matters is, I mean,
Are you wanting us?
I'm not wanting to change what the recommendations are.
So you're okay
So
with
maybe
it?
we just leave them on there then. I'm just telling you that there were some mess
Error.
up in the numbering.
so,
It's really all.
And they fixed it. They sent out a new one
Oh,
later.
okay.
all right, so I'm
But
gonna.
that's not what's on
iPads,
here.
yeah, the
that we
iPads
have
are.
today.
Right, they still
Yeah.
have the old messed up one on their
Yeah,
computer.
that's my
Okay.
fault.
Go
So,
by the case numbers anyway.
so
But
I'm,
so you're okay with 2017-039181 staying on the consent agenda? Right.
so I'm not okay
Yes.
with, I'm not okay with that. I want to pull 24 and 25 off.
Okay.
All right then.
Which end in 181 and 211.
And there was one other thing that I wanted to discuss before we do this. On numbers 1, 4, and 32, these are principal brokers that have 6 penalties and consent orders against them. And we have them on the consent agenda. I'm wondering, is it appropriate to send a letter of warning to these principal brokers who have a history of 5 or more events? The other thing too is, I don't know if these were in 1992 or in 2016 either. I would love to be able to know on these histories. Well, the 2011, the first one there under number 1, that was 2011, right?
Right.
Okay. But I'm just worried about some of these principal brokers that already have 6, and now I've got them on the consent agenda, and we're going to get rid of it.
I had sort of that question when we were getting on the cases, but on the other cases.
But sure, they had this other stuff in the past, and there were consent orders, and I assume they satisfied the consent order or whatever from the previous time. And on this complaint, attorney has investigated and found no violation.
Okay.
So I don't see how we can send them a letter of warning when there was no violation on the complaint that's against them.
You're right. Okay.
Okay, and so the chair would also like to pull number 39 off. So 24, 25, and 39. Just a brief discussion on those.
And what about, Ms. Franks wanted 3 and 4 off, right? Let's talk about 531.
No, it's just that they're in here twice.
So you weren't wanting to pull those off of the consent
No,
agenda?
no.
Okay. Okay, then.
Okay,
So it's just 24, 25, and 39?
yep. So Jessica, if you'll read the case numbers in with the exception of 24, 25,
Who is
and 39.
Jessica?
Hmm?
Who is
Yes.
Jessica?
Erica. Sorry.
It's okay.
Okay,
Who is Jessica, by the way?
Jessica Rabbit.
Would you like to discuss those first?
No, just let's get these,
Read the
bulk
consent
of them passed and handled.
Okay. Number 1, 2017-039-551. Number 2, 2017-039-511. Number 3, 2017-039-531. Number 4, 2017-052-941. Number 5, 2017-039-411. Number 6, 2017-041-231. Number 7, 2017-041-261. Number 8, 2017-041-331. Number 9, 2017-042-401. Number 10, 2017-042-421. Number 11, 2017-043-171. Number 12, 2017-043-191. Number 13, 2017-043-211. Number 14, 2017-041-801. Number 15, 2017-042-871. Number 16, 2017-043-791. Number 17, 2017-043-831. Number 18, 2017-044-311. Number 19, 2017-044-331. Number 20, 2017-045-651. 21, 2017-045-731. 22, 2017-046-431. 23, 2017-039-911. 26, 2017-039-741. 27, 2017-039-801. 28, 2017-041-161. 29, 2017-041-391. 30, 2017-041-451. 31, 2017-041-571. 32, 2017-041-651. 33, 2017-042-341. 34, 2017-042-611. 35, 2017-042-631. 36, 2017-043-231. 37, 2017-043-411. 38, 2017-042-921. 40, 2017-043-581. 41, 2017-043-851. 42, 2017-043-641. 43, 2017-044-201. 44, 2017-046-131. And 45, 2017-046-151.
All right, is there a motion to accept council's recommendation and dismiss the complaints that were just read
So
into the
moved.
record? Motion is by Ms. Hill, second by Ms. Franks. Is there any discussion? If not, let's vote. Those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. That motion passes unanimously. All right, items number 24 and 25. Erica, I think these were yours.
Yes.
And the concern I had was painters got into a building before the property had officially closed. And the question was, how did they get access to the property? So would you just give me your thoughts on that?
Yes. I definitely, this bothered me a lot that the painters were able to get in. But there's no way for me to prove that the respondent was the cause of that. He denies it. The principal broker denies it. The closings were at different times. So the buyer's closing was at 8:30 a.m. and the complainant said they went by the property around 9:30, I believe, and that's when they saw the painters there. So that's what we can prove, that there was somebody in there. But according to the purchase and sale agreement, the buyer was to take possession upon closing, which was at 8:30.
They use a TAR contract.
Yes.
Then that's not what it says. It says they get possession.
I could be wrong that they did not then.
Yeah.
Just remember.
Go ahead, Bobby.
Contract says they get possession once the deed's been basically transferred and payment of the purchase price has been paid. So that means they don't get, just because they push away from the closing table, they don't get possession. They don't get possession until the seller gets their money. And in my market, they usually don't get their money right there at that second.
I could be wrong about it being a TAR form. I'm going to pull it up. I from my memory,
If
there
you
was
find the document
options.
and it has
Yes.
at the bottom, it'll say copyright.
Yeah, absolutely.
We don't know if it was a dry closing either.
Would receiving keys constitute taking possession?
It's a,
No, if you go in,
That's
but
the
I'm saying,
question.
you know, if the respondent did get the keys out of the key box and give them to the buyer, does that constitute then having possession? I mean, in my mind, it might.
well,
I would say the respondent, if it hadn't closed, why is the respondent giving up keys?
No, that's the question. Yeah, that's the question that I'm asking you.
I know why they do it. They do it for convenience.
I would never do it, because I'd be afraid of this very thing happening. My buyer going ahead and start moving stuff in, and we haven't swapped deed for funds.
Paint or break a leg or fall off a
Yeah.
ladder. That's why you don't do it.
Yeah, it's 2017-039.
The buyers wouldn't have had keys to let the painters in, would
That's
they?
the respondent got them out
perhaps
of
the
the key
buyer's
box.
agent, the respondent might, I mean, that's the question. Do you take the key?
Oh, out of the lockbox.
I've got it pulled up. 1 second.
So the TAR contract
There you
doesn't
have it.
state the word keys, but, you know, possession and having keys, to me, might be synonymous.
Well, and is there any other reasonable scenario?
No, I mean, I think probably the respondent did take the keys out and give them to the
Well,
buyer.
there's another reasonable scenario, and that's the listing agent giving the key to the buyer's agent. And
True.
It
Well,
is
the
a TAR
buyer's agent
form.
said that,
Do you-
though?
I'm trying to find it in here. Under pressure, I'm slower.
Okay.
Do you know offhand where it is on the TAR form?
Look about the third or fourth page.
Like
Says
under the earnest
possession.
money?
It says
It will have
possession
a-
by itself.
It's right where it says the closing date.
Okay, here we go.
And then they check the part where it says possession.
Right, you're right. Okay, so they checked the closing as evidenced by delivery of warranty deed and payment of purchase price.
Everybody forgets to read the second part of the sentence. Right there. It's payment of the purchase price. And what happens a lot is you sit there and you close, and then the documents have to be sent to sometimes we have split closings, but the documents got to be sent to the mortgage company. They got to prove that everything was good. And then a lot of times they don't release the money until they've got all their documents back.
So, and
Happened until after 3 o'clock, the wire service is closed.
That's right. Then you're the
Until
next day when they get
yeah.
money, unless they've got an agreement.
And the seller, I know their closing wasn't until 10 or so. So they hadn't signed their documents. And it does seem like the respondent must have given the buyer the key. I just can't prove it. And I've got both the respondent and the principal broker telling me that they did not. The buyer was at closing with the respondent. So the respondent says the buyer wasn't there. Maybe the painters were there, and obviously somebody had to give them a key. But the buyers were with the respondent. So my
Preponderance of the evidence, though. Is that all it takes?
Somebody read a lockbox.
So can the buyer be questioned as to where they received the keys, or who gave them the keys?
yes.
Did they have a key, or did they just break in?
The buyer has not, the respondent did not
painters.
offer to me any kind of statement from the buyer. It just says I did not make it possible for the buyer to enter that house before they were supposed to.
But the respondent may have had a key in the lockbox.
Yes. I feel like there's a statement in here. Let me see.
Well, this is otherwise known as breaking and entering.
Right. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to read a sentence from the summary for the principal broker. So that would be number 25. Respondent also has an email from the listing firm instructing the affiliate broker, which would be the respondent in number 24, to retrieve the key from their lockbox to give to the buyer and closing and prior to that should be 24 hours after closing because the lockbox and sign would be removed. The respondent states the affiliate broker took the keys to the buyer's closing agency and the keys were given to the buyer at closing around 8:30 a.m. So that somebody is lying, but I can't prove who is lying. But evidence, I mean, the fact that there is somebody in the house.
So, now wait a minute. So if the buyer's agent, so the buyer closed at 8:30?
Yes.
And the email from the seller's agent told the buyer's agent to give the key to the buyer at closing at 8:30.
And if they didn't make sure it was not past 24 hours because the lockbox would be gone and the sign would be gone.
And so the painter then could have had the key by 9:30.
Does your file tell who the painter is?
They could have given the painter the code to get in the key.
Yeah, but and if they lived in a small
And depending on what
town-
kind of lock it is, it would tell you who opened it.
I know. I don't know why somebody didn't.
But then there's
run
also combination locks too.
Did the seller's agent offer any kind of response? I don't think anybody asked the seller's agent.
No, no. Just the affiliate and the principal broker. And really, the principal broker was the only one that even said anything about how the key got to the buyer. The affiliate broker didn't even offer that response. But if what the principal broker is saying is true, the key was given to the buyer at closing while both the buyer and the respondent were there. How could they have gotten that key to the house when they didn't leave the closing for there to be painters there at 9:30? There had to be
Lived in
another
a
key
small
or another
village.
way to get in, or somebody's lying that didn't occur.
The last sentence of the first paragraph says the complainant called their agent's office to notify them. And
Yes.
you have the pictures?
They said they have the pictures and they'll give them to me if I ask them for them, but I don't have them.
Well, who the painters are?
Oh, I'm sure I could find out who the painters are if you want me to.
Like, based on what I see, either we got to dismiss it, or you got to investigate further, like by asking the painters, how'd you get in the house?
Right.
And see what they say.
Transaction did close, correct?
Yes.
We don't know when they got the money, though.
At this point, I don't know.
But at the closing, did the sellers give the buyers the key?
The seller and the buyer had closings at separate places at separate times, so they never saw each other
But
interacted with, to get the key.
But the email that the buyer's agent broker has to the buyer's agent, the email from the seller's agent said you can give the key to the buyer.
Yeah, the affiliate broker could.
Uh-huh.
Because they were, he was going to be there with his buyer.
So that I think that overrides whatever was in the contract about we're not going to give you the key until we have money. I mean, if the seller's agent authorized the key to be released, then, but we know that didn't occur until after the painters were already seen in the house. So the question is, how did the painters get in the house, and was it the result of the respondent doing something wrong?
Right. Or you know,
Or the Bayners.
I'm not
And-
really knowledgeable about, is the buyer, would they have had some way to get the key out of the lockbox?
And the
or
door
some-
unlocked.
Or, you know, that's another thing, you know, there's just so many, something is fishy, obviously, but I can't prove how
See,
or what
you're at
happened
such a
with-
disadvantage because you don't do this every day. And I mean, we're sitting here going, okay, was it an electronic lockbox? Because then you could easily tell who accessed it. Or is it a combo box? And if it's a combo box, the buyer's agent could have just given that combo to somebody and let them get, I mean, and you're such a disadvantage because you have to come and we go, here, you should have asked this, you
Right.
should have asked this.
I'm sure, I definitely take everything
Yeah.
you,
I think something was done wrong. I mean, and now as I kind of hear this, if what that broker said was true, that the listing agent gave up the keys at the time the buyer had their closing, I would say I don't know that that was okay unless the seller said it was okay, because seller.
They weren't even at the same building.
Yeah, yeah. I think something was. I mean, something here is not handled properly. I think if the seller though wants to take this up with somebody, it would probably be with the sheriff for somebody getting in their house early, unless we can prove that
We
the
don't know of
agent
any
is
other
wrong.
harm done to them.
Yeah, yeah. I don't.
But it's not their house any longer, so.
well, and they went and saw that was happening and then went to their closing and
Yeah.
signed everything.
Yeah.
Not that, you know.
I'd like to make a motion that we dismiss this, both 24 and 25.
Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Mr. Wood. The motion is to dismiss both items number 24 and 25. Further discussion. All right, let's vote. Those in favor of that motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. And then on number 39, the only thing that caught my attention on this referral out of the Florida Division of Consumer Services. It involves a company who says they're not performing real estate services, but it sure does seem like they're getting awfully close to it if they're acting as an intermediary between buyers and sellers, and their defense is all we do is advertise.
I agree, they're very close to it. And just so you know, I've gotten another complaint about a different respondent doing the same thing. So this might be something we want to talk about, or, you know, kind of decide if it is practicing real estate or not. And I've seen it. I've seen that in old complaints as well. I don't know if they were before you or not, but it does seem to me that they're awfully close. I just don't have any advertisements or evidence or anything other than what I put in here.
Did the respondent respond to you?
Yes. They provided documentation to support their statements.
And a company that's a for sale by owner, how can you be a company and be a for sale by owner?
Well, I think what they're saying is they are a company that advertises for people that are doing for sale by owner themselves.
They have guarantees about their advertising, similar to licensees I've seen in the state who make guarantees about their ability to actually get a property sold.
Yeah, their guarantee, I read it, and it seems very clear. If I had no knowledge of real estate and I was a member of the public, I would think I could definitely get my money back. And
75% of original asking price.
once I read their response, they give their money back on a case by case basis. You know, it's guaranteed if we decide you deserve it.
How do they get paid?
I imagine they get some sort of a fee every time they advertise for somebody who hires them.
Every time
who's
they
trying to sell
advertise
their
real
property.
estate.
Yes.
Sounds like a real estate activity to me.
It's that one statement.
It says in here the respondent provided stuff, including the signed listing agreement. Was it called a listing agreement?
I'm almost positive. I'm going to double check, but I don't think I would even use that word unless they used it. But I can find out real quickly for you.
I don't think when I advertise in a newspaper, they call it a listing agreement. You know.
But to advertise in the paper, they need a listing agreement.
I think sounds like to me they're a real estate agent.
In Florida.
Mr. McMullen, have you come to a conclusion yet?
I'm just reading the definition of broker in 6213-102. And it's any person who for a fee, commission, finder's fee, or any other valuable consideration, or with the intent or expectation of receiving consideration from another, solicits, negotiates, or attempts to solicit or negotiate the listing, sale, purchase, exchange, lease, or option to buy, rent, go on, real estate, or any timeshare interval. So they got compensation from another, and the question is, are they soliciting a listing or sale of real property or a timeshare interval?
Yes, they're guaranteeing it, that they'll get you 75% of your original asking price.
The answer,
It's called a listing agreement.
yes. They say, I am enclosing a copy of the signed listing agreement.
Like a duck and cracking like it's quacking like a duck, isn't it?
So they entered into a listing agreement with the complainant? Is that right?
Yes.
November 17th.
The complainant hired respondent to advertise his timeshare property.
And he signed something that had on it listing agreement.
Well, that's, the respondent calls it that, but I don't see it on the form. It's not called anything. It doesn't really like have a heading.
But he called it
What
that.
does
He called
So
it
to
that.
him, that's what it is.
Says, it just has subheadings. And
He
it has
wouldn't have
their
a
company.
TAR form anyhow.
But does the form give him permission to give him permission to do?
It
Advertising.
it gives them permission to provide resale advertising services. And the actual agreement says that respondent is a quote for sale by owner company, that it's not a real estate broker.
Resale advertising services, resale. So, that's
Well, that's
selling
everything but
property.
new construction.
And if
That's
they're for sale
resale.
by owner company, they're in the real estate business.
Uh-huh.
Like the money back guarantee is the only thing that makes a distinction between this and just advertising in a newspaper or something. you know.
Does, what compensation does the company get? Is there any way that, how are they compensated?
There's a maintenance fee of $650, and this agreement is for 6 months, to advertise for 6 months. The price of the timeshare is $15,900.
Same thing called by a different name?
In the first paragraph, you say complainant entered into the first contract on April 26, 2017 for a, quote, guaranteed timeshare resale / auction for $1,000 and entered into the second contract May 30, 2017 for a, quote, timeshare auction. Are those the names of the two documents that were, or are those just terms that were used in those documents?
The way the Florida Consumer Services form is worded, they ask the complainant to probably select from a list of options or either type it in. So I'm not sure if it was an option or if the complainant chose to use those words, but the product or service involved is called timeshare auction / 5-week rental on one of them, and then timeshare auction on the second one.
So based on Austin's analysis, does anyone agree with me that it appears that this respondent was performing real estate services of some sort without license?
Yes.
Yeah.
If that's the case, if someone would like to make a motion, we'll keep this moving.
I'd like to make a motion that we give a, it's not a fine, what do I want to call it?
Civil penalty.
A civil penalty to the respondent for unlicensed activity.
How much would that?
$1,000.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, the motion made by Ms. Frank, seconded by Ms. Hills, if agreed to by commission, would offer a civil penalty of $1,000 to the respondent. Is there further discussion?
How many times did they do unlicensed activity during this transaction? I mean, we know they got what they called a listing agreement signed. Are there other dates that they've done things? And because I'm just thinking $1,000 may not be accurate.
Oh, I mean,
They had two
this complaint
contracts.
only involves this one, but
Right. Well, I'm not talking about. I'm talking about just activity that they've done in handling of this transaction.
Oh, okay, I see.
I mean,
There was a contract
well,
in
we've got
April
two
and a
separate
contract in May.
agreements. So
You got
there's two.
2 agreements. Okay.
And we've got an auction contract.
These are all things that are signed.
Yes.
3 contracts? Does the letter go with that automatically, Mr. Chairman?
Cease and desist.
Desist.
I'd be interested in, if they don't like the offer, appealing it. I think it'd be interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Just to what they're doing. Eric, are you counting up documents? Okay.
It seems to be 3 contracts. There's 3 signed contracts.
Okay.
1 auction contract and then 2 agreements that we talked about on separate dates.
Mr. Woods, you have
I'd like to amend the motion to make it more accurately reflect the number of unlicensed activities that we've found so far, and make the fine be a civil penalty be $3,000.
for 3 separate events.
Right. Right.
Okay. Mr. McMullen?
What, about halfway through the second paragraph, you say that the respondent provided examples of the advertising services they provided to the complainant, and states they were all created within 24 hours of the complainant submitting his paperwork. It seems like those advertisements would be attempts to solicit the sale of the property. So how many of those do we have evidence of?
They gave us examples of 3, but they made it sound like they had done more. They were just giving
There were
us
3 contracts and 3 advertisements.
samples that they offered to show that they did work for them. They
So
were
that seems
basically-
like 6 violations.
So, yeah, well, yes, but each of the, so I would say the advertisement goes with that contract. I don't know if that's a
But
separate
the
violation.
way that the broker is defined in 102, it talks about soliciting a listing or soliciting a sale, or entering into a listing. And so,
Yeah, that's separate acts, so six
Yeah.
separate acts.
okay. So if I could, I guess I would amend the motion to just make it a civil penalty of $6,000.
Okay.
Okay, the motion now on the table is a $6,000 civil penalty properly made by Commissioner McMullen, seconded by Ms. Hills.
And a cease and desist.
Cease and desist letter, which I may go with it anyhow
Yes,
automatically.
the cease and desist wording will always be in the consent order for unlicensed activity.
All right, further discussion. Let's vote. Those in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The motion passes unanimously. Thank you all. All right, that takes care of the consent agenda. Commissioner McMullen, if you'll take over the legal report. Absolutely. And remember, at 11:30, whatever we're doing, we're stopping. Up to a point.
All right.
Okay.
Ms. Smith?
Number one, I'm going to start with Robbins, 2017-040031. And I would just like to make a correction. I'm not sure if Robin used the word realtor because she wanted to use the trademark realtor or not, so I'm just going to say licensee, if that's okay.
Good idea.
Complainant is out-of-state resident who states respondent and respondent below represents themselves as licensed commercial agents or licensees in Tennessee. Complainant further states that respondent came to other state with hot checks, that respondent states that respondent was planning to run for president and to replace a state senator. No response was filed. A research shows a page stating respondent is chairman of property company below, and that company does property management in Tennessee, Michigan, New York, and Louisiana. No properties are listed, but the ad states that respondent below can take care of property repair and handle property. The recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for $1,000 civil penalty.
Is this guy licensed or girl? Do we know who it is?
And what's a hot check?
A hot check means it bounced.
Never been.
I mean,
been-
yes, we know who it is. Yes.
Okay.
Rubber check.
I thought it was a big good check. Hot check. Gosh.
I've heard of variations of that term.
The difference in middle and east, I guess.
Gosh, I thought it was good funds.
I'm sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
So the motion is for a $1,000 civil penalty. Is there any additional discussion or questions? Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number two, please.
2017-040051, and the respondent is the firm for the complaint above, and the recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity.
We have a motion by Commissioner Taylor, seconded by Commissioner Wood for a $1,000 civil penalty. Discussion.
So we've already done the person who did it, but it was done in the name of a firm?
Yeah, it's very clearly a real estate named firm.
That's all I need.
And so I have a question. So if this company, how is it ever, so if this company ever applies for a license, is it flagged?
Well, if we authorize this consent order, then we'll know that there was history of unlicensed activity, and surely that's taken into consideration in the licensing division. I can't speak for them, though.
Yeah, I think it pops up and tells them this person has been disciplined. Sherry, is that, it gives you a pop-up or something?
But the discipline does still show in their record. No?
They can just get their license, they pay it, they just get their license and
And plus, they didn't
we just
respond.
never know.
Well, and I mean, if they've been disciplined by you all, that's on their application. It says, have you ever been disciplined by a state agency? So they're going to have to answer. They should answer yes.
If they don't, we don't
If they
get
don't,
them.
it doesn't matter. It won't be caught.
Well, but it usually shows up.
Okay,
Maybe
thank you.
a year or two later, somebody brings it up, somebody remembers.
Okay, thank you.
Can we additionally, since the company didn't respond, can we additionally fine them for not, we can't?
No, because they're not a licensee.
Yeah, so they're not,
I got
they're
you,
not
I got you.
required
Okay.
to technically.
All right, okay.
The motion is for the $1,000 civil penalty. Is there any additional discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 3, please.
2017-040-271, an anonymous complaint stating respondent is selling without a license. Complainant included reiterations of what complainant stated were on Facebook, but did not include that Facebook document. The statements had respondent stating, quote, anyone interested in buying a property, call or send private message, end quote. A second reiteration has an additional property with respondent stating that respondent is not collecting any money until respondent passes state exam. There are other postings, but not able to say if same or additional properties. Complainant did a follow-up, but again wanted to remain anonymous. Complainant states complainant had buyers interested in property being offered through respondent, and that after viewing home, buyers were not interested. Respondent told complainant that respondent had other properties and questioned why complainant had to be present to view. Complainant states respondent called buyers directly, and in the process, complainant sent a text to respondent that was meant for the buyers, and that text was received as a threat from complainant. Respondent also sent a copy to complainant's principal broker, which caused additional problems. There's no evidence that respondent is licensed or has applied for the same, so the recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty for unlicensed activity.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Ms. Franks, seconded by Ms. Taylor, to accept the recommendation of a $1,000 civil penalty. Discussion?
What does it mean that the complainant's principal broker, which caused additional problems?
I don't know offhand. I can look at the complaint if you'd like me to and try to answer that.
No, that's not necessary.
All right, is there any additional discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 4, please.
2017-040-641, and this matter is in litigation. There's a jury date in April. The allegations are regarding fraudulent allegations, and Robin's recommendation is to wait until the matter has been resolved. So, would you like me to read the full?
Read your recommendation,
Okay.
please.
The recommendation is a litigation monitoring consent order.
We have a motion by Commissioner Bloom, seconded by Commissioner Franks, to accept the recommendation of a litigation monitoring consent order. Any discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 5, you want to skip down to the last paragraph and then read the recommendation?
2017-040-661. These parties are in litigation, and the recommendation is a litigation monitoring consent order.
Move to accept council's recommendation.
We have a motion by Commissioner Franks, seconded by Commissioner Taylor, to accept the recommendation of a litigation monitoring consent order. Discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 6, please.
2017-043-041. Complainant is seller and respondent is buyer's agent. Complainant states that buyer and complainant met at property without any agent and did a verbal agreement for buyer to purchase property for case with current tenants in place and immediate closure. Complainant states a purchase and sale agreement was sent to buyer that evening. Complainant states complainant was then contacted by respondent, who states that buyer had hired respondent to prepare the agreement, which was acceptable to complainant so long as complainant was not to pay respondent. A few hours later, respondent contacted complainant about moving closing date to early August so that buyer could inspect property after tenants were scheduled to vacate by July 31st. Complainant informed respondent that buyer and complainant have verbally agreed to buyer purchasing rental with tenants in place. Complainant states respondent stated that buyer would then be exposed to liability as there would be no lease in place with current tenants. Complainant told respondent that the lease agreement is assigned with sale and offered to provide an estoppel agreement. Complainant received an email from respondent stating that if buyer purchased property before tenants leaving, buyer could not hold them responsible for any damage. Complainant states this is not true and that as a result of these statements, complainant believes buyer decided to back out of transaction. Respondent states respondent prepared paperwork for buyer for purchase of primary residence on July 1st and that on July 2nd agreed to help with paperwork for this investment property with complainant. The renter was scheduled to move in 2 weeks and buyer was concerned about who would pay for damages renter might cause, who would refund renter's deposit, and what would be done or what could be done if renter did not move. Respondent asked complainant if closing could be August 4th, giving time for buyer to inspect, and this was denied by complainant. Complainant states that lease could convey with signed estoppel agreement, but one was not provided with the sales contract. When questioned, complainant stated complainant would secure an agreement signed by the renters. The next day, buyer sent respondent a text stating buyer wanted to postpone the purchase of property until after primary residence sale closed, as buyer's lender advised against it. Respondent contacted complainant that buyer would need to postpone purchase, and complainant became hostile and all communication between the two ceased. Emails from buyer show that buyer wanted to wait until closing and wanted to back off this purchase and would look further for rental property after personal property purchase closed. Email between complainant and respondent show respondent listing concerns about the current renters and a response from complainant stating the buyer can enforce and that complainant and tenants execute an estoppel agreement for such matters. Respondent asked for agreement to be sent as it was not part of the purchase and sale agreement provided to the buyer by complainant. Respondent also included an email from the lender who advised waiting for resolution of the buyer's home purchase before going forward with the investment purchase. Respondent should probably not have made statements concerning buyer's legal ability to enforce or not enforce issues with tenants. Such statements are on the verge of legal advice or legal conclusions. So the recommendation is a letter of warning regarding the unauthorized practice of law.
I'd like to make a motion. If the recommendation or what the comment in here is saying they're on the verge of providing legal advice, but apparently they didn't think they did provide legal advice, then why should we give her a letter of warning? So my motion would be, my recommendation would be for us to make the motion to dismiss.
Okay. We've got a motion by Commissioner Wood to dismiss. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Taylor. Discussion.
Yeah, I think it's dangerous for the people reviewing these cases to give us their legal advice, like this last statement. Anna probably should not have made statements concerning buyer's legal liability. I think that's up to us to decide about.
All right. So you've heard the motion. Is there any additional discussion? All right, let's vote. All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 7, please.
2017-043-111.
Move to dismiss.
Second.
Motion by Commissioner Wood, seconded by Chairman Grease to dismiss. Discussion? Let's vote. All those in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 8.
2017-044-941. This is a referral from Consumer Affairs. Complainant is the seller and respondent is seller's agent. Complainant states that complainant and respondent entered into a sales contract in April 2017. Complainant states respondent said would sell property fast through CoStar and that respondent would put a big sign on property to draw attention. Complainant states respondent never put a sign on property despite inquiries by complainant. Complainant states respondent did not update selling status of property on a regular basis. Complainant states complainant requested copy of property via phone and mail and it was not provided. After learning from attorney it was illegal for respondent not to provide contract, complainant went to office and asked for a copy from respondent below. Complainant states respondent below acknowledged receipt of letter from complainant but that it was the responsibility of respondent to act on it. On the next day, complainant went to the office and was able to secure a copy of the contract. Later, complainant contacted respondent by phone and asked respondent to immediately remove the listing but as of the date of the complaint, 1 day after the last office visit, the property was still listed. An additional complaint dated a few days later states property is still listed. Respondent states that respondent and complainant signed an exclusive right to sell listing agreement for a 6-month term on the April date. At the meeting at complainant's home, respondent discussed how the property would be advertised as a quote for sale sign was placed on property. Respondent states complainant was told complainant could pick up a copy of the listing agreement at the office later that day or at the complainant's convenience. The listing was entered 2 days later, and complainant called weekly to ask about progress. At the end of May, respondent was notified to lower price, and the price reduction was made on the MLS that day. On June 8th, respondent states complainant notified respondent that complainant decided not to sell the property, and respondent states the listing was removed on the MLS by June 9th, and that it was a courtesy as the contract was a 6-month listing. Respondent states 3 days later, complainant listed property with another real estate company. Respondent states respondent only deals with one area MLS, and that MLS then provides to other websites. Respondent does not address getting a copy of the contract to complainant after the signature, except to say a copy was available later that day at the office. The recommendation is a $500 civil penalty for failing to provide a copy of the listing agreement at the time it was executed.
Motion to accept council's recommendation.
Second.
We have a motion by Commissioner Hill, seconded by Commissioner Taylor, to accept the recommendation of a $500 civil penalty. Discussion.
Can we determine how long it was between when they said they wanted that copy, they listed it, and then they actually got the listing agreement? I'm not getting the impression this went on for weeks or weeks. It was maybe like a day or two.
Will you pull up the complaint?
Bobby, are you not supposed to give a signed copy to the buyer or seller at the time they sign it?
Any signed copies?
Yeah, but I guess I'm just thinking, I mean, in real life, sometimes you're sitting there in front of them and you go, hey, I'll send you a copy because I don't have a copy machine in my car.
Those are doing it on the hood of the car.
Yeah. I mean,
and
so
then
if they...
I've had to do, and I email it as soon as I get to the office.
Right.
I scan it and email it right to them and ask them to respond.
And you don't tell them to come get it.
Okay, I have an answer for you.
Okay.
In the complainant says a few weeks went by before they went to the office to try to get it, and they had asked during those weeks.
Thank you. And I know you're at a handicap because this is not
I know,
yours.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'm good.
Two quick questions. I hope they're quick. At the last sentence of the first paragraph, it says, an additional complaint dated a few days later. Is there another complaint that we're going to handle on this issue?
No, I think just the complainant sent a new complaint as opposed to an update or a letter letting us know it's still not been removed.
This question may have more to do with the next complaint, but let me ask this. In that first paragraph again, it appears to me that the complainant spoke to the respondent's broker asking for a copy of the listing agreement, and the respondent's broker said that was not his or her responsibility, but in fact the licensee's responsibility. Did you confirm that conversation?
I mean, no, I did not.
Okay.
I didn't do anything with this case at all.
It was Ms. Ryan's case.
That's right.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, so the motion is for the $500 civil penalty. Are we ready to vote? All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 9, please.
2017-044961. So the respondent here is the principal broker for the affiliate broker above, and a complaint was opened against this respondent for failure to supervise the above respondent, but respondent is not a principal broker. The respondent above is a principal broker, and respondent provided a copy of the current license as well as a letter from the program in 2016 notifying the Department of Revenue of the downgraded license. So the recommendation is to dismiss it against this respondent.
So who would have opened this complaint?
Oh, so wait. I misread that. So I was ready to.
So the
So
person
that
above
agent was the
broker.
principal
Yes.
broker.
Yes, so that's why the respondent here said it wasn't their responsibility because they weren't the principal broker. The complainant thought they were. I misstated when I said the respondent in number 8 was an affiliate broker, their principal
So
broker.
if that wasn't her principal broker, I move to dismiss.
We have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Taylor, to dismiss on council's recommendation. Any discussion? All those in favor, please vote aye.
Aye.
Opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 10, please.
2017-044821. Complainant states respondent contacted complainant about selling a timeshare vacation property in Mexico. Respondent had a local address of Smyrna, Tennessee. Complainant signed a contract to sell ownership and ultimately paid monies to an agency in Mexico, but learned that complainant had been defrauded. Complainant contacted Mexico consulate in California and filed a formal complaint with California as well as in Oklahoma. No response was filed and all mail has been returned. A call to the number listed online was answered. This company name was stolen from a licensee, and that licensee discovered that the person stole the name, address, but not their phone number. Respondent even put licensee's name on some forms. Licensee learned that respondent was attempting to buy and sell timeshares, which licensee does not do, and licensee then changed name and address but kept the phone number. Licensee even attempted to contact respondent regarding this illegal activity. The recommendation notes that the respondent is not in Tennessee. There's no address to deliver a consent order if one was authorized. We could authorize $1,000 for unlicensed activity, but Robin felt like it would be impossible to secure service on this.
Well, they didn't sell property in Tennessee, and they're not located in Tennessee, so why are we looking at this?
I think they were using an address of Smyrna, Tennessee, and therefore
That was-
appealing to the people of Tennessee.
That was confusing. So were they at the address in Smyrna, Tennessee, or not?
From my understanding, they were using an address from a person who was a real estate agent just to get the attention of people that live in Tennessee, but they were never at that address actually. We don't know
And to
where they are.
capture
We have
maybe timeshare people in Tennessee that usually.
Were they using a licensee's name?
Yes.
So do we have the name of the person who was doing this activity? Because the name we got is a licensee's name here, and if that wasn't the person, do we have the real name of the culprit?
I think
that she does.
Okay.
And everything that's been sent has been returned. So as far as tracking down this person was her, from what I remember, everything's being returned and this person sort of jumped ship.
But you have a licensee.
So and
from Tennessee.
That said, essentially it seems like identity fraud where they are claiming to be at their address. I think it was a similar name. So it was, the person responded and said, I want to say the licensee responded and said, I have no idea who this is. They're acting.
So it's an LLC.
But they did contact Tennessee residents and tried to sell them real estate or timeshares. And so that seems like activity in Tennessee.
But we don't know who the person is. If they
They do know.
They do have a name.
They do have a name.
I think we've got the LLC's name. We just truly don't have an address to serve anything. I think Robin's concern was the most we can do is fine them $1,000. Right now, in her opinion, it's close to impossible to get that to the correct LLC or owner, and we'd end up sending it to collections.
She says, but this will be in litigation.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think what she means is because we wouldn't be able to get the consent order delivered, we'd have to have a hearing and it would be a default. because we couldn't get them noticed about the hearing. Caitlin, do you remember her saying that we could refer this to the DA? I think that's what she wanted me to mention.
I don't remember that, but that could have been a separate.
It's an option, though,
That's
isn't it?
probably the best
That was what
route
I
you
would
can take
recommend.
with this. If we can't find this person, it might be best to hand it off to someone with a little more investigation authority than what we have.
I know obviously where the address that they're pretending to use, so we could start with the DA in that county.
In Rutherford County.
Yes.
Can we maybe, if we were to agree, can we agree to a civil penalty and then also agree to send it on to the district attorney's office? Can we do that? Okay, then that's my motion. So.
What's the civil penalty?
Oh, it was
$1,000.
Okay.
Second.
All right, so we have a motion by Commissioner Woods, seconded by Commissioner Franks for a $1,000 civil penalty and referral to the District Attorney General in Rutherford County.
Whoever Sarah thinks we should send it to.
Yeah, I just put on here the appropriate district attorney's office, so we'll just go with that.
All right, any additional discussion? Let's go ahead and vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 11, please.
2017-039-991. Complainant works for a Tennessee Area Association of Realtors, and he filed this complaint on behalf of an Association of Realtors member or licensee. Complainant alleges respondent is using the licensee's name and fax number in her current real estate company. Complainant provided a copy of a 4-page fax that he received at his firm, which includes 4 pay statements from somebody. The fax has a handwritten note at the top that says, quote, attention, and then the respondent's name, respondent's company name, and the fax number. Our office sent this complaint to respondent's last known address via certified mail, and it was returned unable to forward, and we also emailed it to the respondent. Respondent was recently downgraded from a principal broker to an affiliate broker. That affiliate broker license was suspended for 12 months, and there was a civil penalty of $2,000 plus 60 hours of additional continuing education. Our office sent the file to collections because respondent never sent in payment, proof of continuing education, and because all of respondent's mail comes back to our office. We have run a clear report. We've tried every avenue that we know of to try to get service on the respondent. Council recommends either issuing a civil penalty for failing to respond to this complaint or closing this complaint and flagging it in case respondent tries to get her license back in the future. So my recommendation was to discuss.
So we could take her license away.
Expired.
Suspended and expired.
Oh.
So we already did.
Suspension runs out, though, but expiration would not. And it's not been a year, so they could come back.
Well, the suspension would not, they have to show proof of the 60 hours of CE and pay their penalty as well.
And agree to it.
Right.
It
So-
must be doing business because it has somebody sending them pay
I mean, they did
stubs.
agree to it. They signed it. They just never followed through.
Anybody know what TAAR is?
Well, I just
It's
made
known
that
as
up
TER. It's
because
known-
I didn't want
It's
to.
known as TER.
Okay. I just wanted to hear him say that again.
It's a
getting good
specific
at this.
city. You know, it's a specific city association of realtors, but to keep it anonymous, I just
Okay.
made that up.
Okay.
Okay.
You're good. So it looks like this person is trying to still do business somehow.
Yes, it
And,
does.
I don't want to close and flag it.
I know. So what's the best way to do it?
She have a broker, so you can't find
Got
her.
unlicensed
No, she's just
activity.
she's disappeared. After she signed that order, she never did anything, complied with the terms. And we've run, we've paid for basically it's like a background check where it gives us her most recent addresses. And I know of 4 addresses that we've tried sending it to. And they've all come back.
But she's still doing real estate.
Can I just clarify just what happened here? All right, so the complainant is a licensee?
Yes, the complainant has
Okay.
a firm.
Okay, so the complainant received a fax from this person who used to have a license but whose license has expired.
The complainant received a fax from I don't know who that was addressed to the person who is suspended.
Okay.
So the complainant thinks that she's using his fax number in
Maybe
conducting
had-
her business,
had done
acting like 'cause she
business
used to work
before.
for him.
She did used to work for him?
Yes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But he didn't even mention that. I had to figure that out myself. So I don't know if he chose not to mention it for a reason, but he didn't. But
What
it
if the
turns out
person
that
who
he did.
sent the fax just didn't know that she didn't work
Well,
there anymore?
that's another.
That's it.
That's definitely a possibility. So, I think his only concern was that she's not pretending or acting like that's still her broker, that's still her firm, and to me, it just seems like this could be a fax from someone who had that number when the respondent was active.
But they're doing.
What is a pay statement, and what would that be in connection with?
It would
It
be.
was like it was 4 months of pay stubs.
It would be showing. It would be showing
Somebody's-
that you're
Commissions.
applying for loans,
That's what I was
or
thinking.
that
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
or rental. It'd be showing rental
Mm-hmm.
that you're trying to get a rental, mansion rental.
Property management when she
Uh-huh.
was
Oh, she was.
active.
There you go.
What it was.
Mm-hmm. So still doing business.
You could catch her though by where those.
And question that person whose pay stubs they were.
Well, yeah, I was thinking if you wanted us to investigate further, I could find out who sent them and ask them why they sent them to this number and if when they were in contact with this person, and we could find out
Or
what she
that
was doing.
person's address and
Right,
where did
right.
they
That'd
be
send their
better.
rent?
I agree. Somebody want to make a motion to that effect, or other?
Did you make the motion?
I don't think we made
I don't think
Okay.
we have a motion
I'll make
yet.
a motion that we defer this complaint until we can get more information from legal counsel.
So,
Hold on, is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Frank, seconded by Commissioner Wood to defer pending further investigation. Chairman Grease.
this licensee almost has the death penalty now, right? I mean, are we wearing out staff time and investigatory time on a project that's not going to yield any different result?
Like I'm gonna have to contact I'll have to contact the software company to try to find out where that fax came from because there's no name of who sent it. If that makes sense.
But there's
Pay
not, the
statements don't
pay
have a name on
stub
it?
doesn't have a name?
No, that they do. Yes. I guess I assumed that maybe they had an agent.
The
that
stub
sent it
should
for
also
them.
say what company, if it was, I mean, most people use computer checks.
I
It would
just
probably say on the pay stub.
The person who sent it was probably the person whose pay stub it was.
Yes.
I'll start there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And where does that person live and where do they send their rent?
But to Chairman Grease, to your question, I don't think we're wasting time here because we have somebody who may still be operating without a license, and we would like to get that stopped.
Well, we tried to stop it
Well,
by suspending the license.
no, it was a $2,000 civil penalty downgraded, and a 12-month suspension. Yeah.
No, they're not listening. We need to get their attention.
My only point is, and I'm going to vote for the motion, but my only point is, this licensee is not going to listen to anything. It doesn't look like to
Yeah.
me. I mean, if I was going to do anything, I'd refer it to
The DA?
DA or someplace where there's some enforcement mechanism beyond what we have. But as I said, I'll support the motion.
Well, I think that maybe with some additional investigation, the DA might get involved. Just based on this, I don't know if it would be enough to get the DA's attention to where they would do
Too many
anything.
holes in it.
All right, you've heard the motion. Is there any additional discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 12, please.
2017-040011. Respondent is the firm where the affiliate broker who is suspended used to work separate from the complainant.
Move
It is
to dismiss.
the next.
Second.
Okay.
All right, we have a motion by Chairman Grease, seconded by Commissioner Wood to dismiss. Discussion? All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. At this time, we will take a break for lunch.
Isn't the next one the same person, though?
That's what I was looking at.
Appears to be.
There's one more that's unlicensed. Or no, there's two, and then there's 5 that are the same. So.
Okay. All right. Never mind.
Okay. We will see everybody back here after lunch.
One-ish. Yep.
Mr. Chairman, if you can indulge me for a minute, I'd like to make a comment.
Sure. Let's come to order. We'll recognize Commissioner Bloom.
Well, I just wanted to thank our chairman for arranging the luncheon. I thought it was a very effective way for us to get to know the staff a little better and them to get to know us. And I really enjoyed it, and I hope they did as well.
Hear, hear.
So I appreciate all of you having the same palate that I do.
Breezy.
Or if we don't, just keeping our mouths shut.
Yeah. But thank
Very
you.
nice,
I
thank
enjoy,
you.
I enjoy that as well. I think it's good.
It was good.
Thank you, Mr. Bloom. Mr. McMullen.
All right, we will continue with the legal report at this time, and I think we're up to number 13, Ms. Smith.
13 is 2017-041-131, and this respondent is actually the same respondent from number 12. From number 11, but a totally separate complainant and issue. Complainant rented a property managed by respondent. Complainant alleges respondent and the homeowner knew that there were, that should say electrical issues in the home, as well as leaks in the bathroom and the kitchen as early as November 2016, but did not repair them until May 2017. Complainant further states that she was forced to move out a day or two early, and respondent and the homeowner used her electricity after she moved out. Additionally, complainant alleges respondent altered the lease complainant signed, but on its face, the copy of the lease sent in with the complaint does not appear to be altered in any way, and complainant does not elaborate on this issue any further. Complainant states respondent showed up unannounced on Memorial Day to show prospective renters the home, and complainant was mortified and embarrassed because she was in her pajamas. Complainant moved out the following day, and there were no issues brought up during the final walkthrough. Complainant did end up paying $50 for, quote, damages, although she does not agree that anything was damaged. Complainant states respondent told her that she would get her deposit of $575 back within 7 to 10 days, but complainant only ended up receiving $425 back, and that was after respondent allegedly threatened complainant that she would stop payment on the check if a complaint was filed against respondent. Complainant feels respondent was unprofessional and misled her from the beginning. Our office sent this complaint to respondent's last known address via certified mail. It was returned unable to forward, and we emailed it to the respondent. Respondent was recently downgraded from a principal broker to an affiliate broker, and her license was suspended for 12 months. There was a civil penalty of $2,000, and she was supposed to take 60 hours of additional continuing education. Our office sent the file to collections because respondent never sent in a payment, proof of continuing education, and because all of respondent's mail comes back to our office. Counsel recommends either issuing a civil penalty for failing to respond to this complaint or closing this complaint and flagging it in case respondent tries to get her license back in the future. So my recommendation was to discuss, but in light of what we decided on number 11, I think if we can find out where the respondent is, then.
Chairman? Yes. So here is someone who's filed a complaint who can help us locate this person. Here's someone whose license expired April 2nd, yet they're doing business Memorial Day weekend, 2 months later.
And suspended.
Yes, so they're clearly continuing to do rental business. And this complainant did get money back from somewhere. So this person is a good source of information for you, in my opinion. So how,
Should we link it to the other one also?
yeah, how can we keep it open to?
You just defer
So
it.
on number 11, we voted to defer it a month so that you could do some additional investigation. Does somebody want to make a similar motion on number 13?
I make that motion to defer this
Okay.
and link it to the other one because to me it's clearly this person is continuing.
All right, we have a motion by Commissioner Hills and seconded by Commissioner Franks to defer number 13 for a month for additional investigation.
So let me
Chairman
just
Grease.
speak out loud for a second. To me, this is obvious. To me, it's clearly someone's practicing real estate without a license. I mean, this is an unauthorized not law, but she's practicing real estate without a license. I don't know that I need much more than that to offer up a civil penalty and a cease and desist. I mean, I know we can use information in this to help on item number 11, but I don't see what further information I need on this particular case.
We need an address of where they are.
Well, whenever we get that address, we can deliver the
So your point is that we could go ahead and resolve number 13.
I would,
Is that-
I would be in the mood to offer a substitute motion that says, let's offer this respondent a civil penalty, civil penalty of $1,000 per whatever the appropriate statute is for practicing real estate without a license, and the cease and desist letter, which I assume automatically goes with that anyhow.
All right.
Maybe $1,000 for failure to respond too.
Not licensed.
Not licensed.
Oh, okay, never mind.
All right, so we've got a substitute motion for a $1,000 civil penalty.
Would you like for me to
Is
withdraw
there
mine?
well, is there a second?
Second.
There's seconded by Commissioner Franks. Discussion on this motion, which is to have a civil penalty for unlicensed practice. Are y'all ready to vote? All right, let's go ahead and vote. We're voting on the motion for the $1,000 civil penalty. All in favor, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Number 14, please.
2017-045551. Complainant alleges respondent has been operating for about 5 years and managed complainant's cabin for a short time along with many other cabins. Complainant states respondent refused to become licensed, so complainant removed her cabin from respondent's services. Complainant has asked respondent to remove the picture of complainant's cabin from respondent's website, but respondent has not done so. Complainant was notified earlier this year that respondent was using complainant's cabin's address on her Vrbo and Airbnb listings for all of respondent's cabins. So complainant states she contacted Vrbo and Airbnb.
VRBO.
Okay, sorry, I figured so it's VRBO. Okay.
You need to get out more, okay?
I know. Well, I avoid the television right
You
now.
need a
for many
vacation.
reasons,
Okay.
and everything online. Let's see. Complainant states Airbnb made respondent remove complainant's address, but VRBO has not responded to complainant. Complainant then found out respondent is using complainant's cabin's address on her Facebook page as well. Complainant simply wants respondent to leave complainant's information off of her advertisements and website and presents this to TREC to investigate whether respondent is engaged in unlicensed activity. Respondent states that she and complainant started the company in early 2012 and provides emails from complainant to respondent from that time frame where complainant sent drafts of the wording that would be used throughout respondent's website. Much of the wording complainant drafted is still being used on the website based on council's online research. The emails from complainant also use a signature line with both respondents and complainant's names and phone numbers under the company name. Respondent also states complainant approached respondent about starting the company, as respondent had been simply cleaning complainant's cabins before the company was launched. Respondent further states that she obtained her business license in 2012 and proceeded to manage cabins. Complainant stopped speaking to respondent in late 2012 or early 2013 because respondent would no longer clean complainant's cabins. Respondent states she removed complainant's pictures from her website in 2012 and provides an email from her web designer stating such. Council was unable to find complainant's cabin pictures on respondent's website. Respondent denies using complainant's address on VRBO or Airbnb and is unsure where complainant is getting that information. Respondent also denies ever managing complainant's cabins. Respondent states that she never refused to get her license and was advised that she didn't need a license by the, quote, tax office in her county and what she calls, quote, the Department of Commerce and Insurance in her county. Counsel is unaware of any offices in complainant's county. Respondent states that she made calls to the Department of Commerce and Insurance in Nashville and left several voicemails but never received a call back. Counsel spoke with the licensing division and was told that they do not advise anyone on whether or not they need a license, but refer them to legal or the board so they can explain their scope of work, or they refer them to a link where they can read the law and rules for themselves. Respondent states that she has never defrauded any guests and has only kept 3 deposits because of damage to the property, which means respondent is accepting deposits. Respondent concludes by stating she only manages a few cabins now and there have been no issues with any guests or properties. Counsel conducted online research and found that respondent does not have a Facebook page, and after closely looking over the attachment complainant sent as evidence to support her allegations, it looks like complainant created a new Facebook page to make it look like respondent's page and printed out a screenshot. Counsel notes the screenshot shows the Facebook page has never been visited, has no posts, comments, reviews, or friends, and is basically a blank Facebook page with a phone number, address, and a single picture to serve as the profile picture. Counsel was able to review respondent's website, which states that respondent is a property management company that, quote, specializes in the management of individually owned investment properties with operations from maintenance and housekeeping to the rental and marketing of your property to billing and web design, end quote. Included in the About section of the website is a statement that reads, quote, respondent started out as a cabin cleaning service, end quote, which corroborates respondent's statement. Counsel also notes that complainant did not send any documentation to support the allegations made other than the screenshot of the Facebook page discussed above and a screenshot of a Google search for respondent's website. Counsel considers the fact that complainant makes many allegations and claims that respondent managed her cabin for a short time, but fails to mention that she played a major role as a partner on the website, as a partner to respondent and in setting up respondent's company, or that she drafted the wording used on the website. Complainant's first 2 sentences in her complaint are, quote, respondent's owner's name started this company 5 years ago. For a short time, she managed my cabin along with others, end quote. Counsel takes issue with complainant's credibility due to these apparent misleading statements, omissions, and finds it hard to believe that complainant was first respondent's business partner and then allowed respondent to manage her cabin for a short time, as this does not make logical sense to counsel. In conclusion, and based on respondent's owner's own words and the description of the services listed on respondent's website, counsel recommends a civil penalty for unlicensed activity, and the recommendation is a $1,000 civil penalty. Well, complainant, there's never been an allegation that complainant is managing properties or that she did anything then help create that website, possibly, and, help start the company in 2012, which was 5 years ago. Right. But there's not been any, complaint or allegation that she's engaging in real estate activity. I think they had a falling out right after they started, and I definitely have proof that she drafted, the About section basically on the website. And I really took issue with the fact that she did not make any statement that, explained that she was involved at any point.
But the respondent says that they've been managing cabins since 2012, so that's 5 years.
The company.
Well, the company, who owns the company?
Respondent.
Okay. And that they've kept 3 deposits.
Right.
And that they have a few cabins now, and they have a website. All of those are illegal activities, and I think that more than $1,000 needs to be done, because this person is running a business, a real estate business, without a license. They're doing all these different things. What do y'all think?
Like you say, there are at least 3 cases here, so that's 3,000.
That's what I would like. We can definitely prove. She admitted 3.
Yes.
And if I knew how many a few cabins were, I could put a number to that too.
Well, a few, that's 2 or more, so say it's 2.
I think I took into consideration that she could possibly be telling the truth about getting misinformation or advice that she didn't need a license, and I don't have. She said that she, called licensing and left messages and didn't get a response. So I took that into consideration, but she could be lying about that, and if she were, I would definitely recommend 3,000.
Well, she didn't call the tax office of Commerce and Insurance in her town either. There's not an office for that in her town.
There's definitely not the Department of Commerce and Insurance in her town, but she said that she also called a tax office in her town.
So if she had 3 deposits and a few cabins, 1, 2, that's 5 things. She has a website, that's 6 things. That's 6 things that we know for sure that they have. I'd like to make a motion that that we have a consent order assessing a civil penalty in the amount of $6,000 for unlicensed activity and a cease and desist.
Let me get it straight, though, to who is it the respondent or the complainant? Respondent.
All right, we've got a motion by Commissioner Franks for a $6,000 civil penalty and a cease and desist letter. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Wood. Discussion. All right, I take it that you're ready to vote. All those in favor of the motion, vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed, vote no. That motion carries unanimously.
Can I ask?
Chairman Grease.
In my never-ending quest to try to understand certain things, if this lady decides to get a license, would it be a vacation lodging service license in a case like this, or how do you define? How would she know what type of license to get?
It's property management. And property management, just a regular license.
Oh, that's vacation lodging is pretty much.
Most people that do property management just have a regular license. The vacation lodging is if they're going to have, if they own property that you're staying in for less than 14 days, that.
Timeshare.
No, there are people like in East Tennessee that rent cabins by the week or by the month. And then they also do the management part of it as well. Now, are those vacation lodging firms, or are those?
I think most of those over there are vacation lodging firms.
And if that's the case here, that's the type, that would be the firm license she would need, or he would need to get?
Yeah, and Eric and I can look at this and decide if, and try to be able to figure that out for this person before in case they come to us and ask us. So
the difference between a regular brokerage license and vacation lodging is the length of the time the property is leased.
The vacation lodging people can't have someone staying there for any longer than 14 days. The legislature tried to change it to 30 days last session and it didn't pass.
Might be a dumb question, but can someone with a real estate license do vacation and lodging without an additional license?
I believe the answer to that is yes. So some people are just doing this vacation lodging and aren't doing what they consider real estate, so they have the vacation lodging as opposed to.
That's why the VRBOs and the Airbnbs are usually the 14 days or less, also in the state of Tennessee.
The difference between that is that I think the vacation lodging, and I'd have to look at the definition exactly, it says property, you're essentially managing property owned by others. Most of the Airbnbs, if they're in someone's name, they own the property and it's in their own home. So that's kind of another difference.
Okay. Thank you. I noticed that it looks like 15 through 19 are all the same respondent. Is that right? So.
So.
We want to
would
go
you,
through them all and make one decision.
Would you just?
Or do you just
would you? I'm just
read
curious.
The numbers
just for brokers too.
And I just want to understand just the dynamics of just the office, if possible, just from my understanding. I don't need anything
The
else.
allegations in all 5 complaints are very similar, and I can try to paraphrase what's going on and let you
Are
ask
there
questions.
just 2 people, 2 brothers?
Just a respondent that has been complained about, but when the complainant made the allegations, the complainant states there's a person with the same last name, I assume it's a brother, that they're kind of giving the complainant the runaround, saying, oh, the brother writes the checks, and the brother saying, no, the respondent writes the checks, and transferring calls, and really just putting it off on the other person, hoping I think the complainant will go away. And but that's the only way the brother has come up. The respondent hasn't mentioned that there is any other person, but it sounds like there's at least two people.
Office
Yes.
manager is not the brother?
No.
Okay.
I think the brother is there's supposedly a leasing division within this firm, and he operates that part of the firm.
Smith, why don't you read the numbers for 15 through 19 and then paraphrase the complaints?
15, 2017, 048971. 16, 2017, 049921. 17, 2017, 050971. 18, 2017, 059141. 19, 2017, 059681. And I definitely would like to note on the front end that the respondent responded to the first 4 complaints. And his response was verbatim in each response, like he copy and pasted it. And then he would add 1 or 2 sentences at the end to kind of conform it to that complaint. It was not a very detailed response. He didn't really respond very much to the allegations that he is taking deposits from clients for rental properties, but he states that his firm only advertises for a property management company that they associate with, who actually rents the properties, and they are the holder of these deposits. So if there's a problem with it, the respondent is blaming it on this property management company. In one case, half of the deposit was returned. In the other 4, the deposits have not been returned. And what it seems like is happening is this respondent is waiting until right before the move-in date and saying, I'm sorry, this property is no longer available, or the owner decided to rent it to someone else, and we'll get you your deposit back. And the complainants would call the office and be told, oh yeah, your deposit should be here in the next few days, you can come by, and just continues to put them off. The 5th complainant, I believe, was filed in September, and the respondent did not respond to the 5th complaint. And the complainant alleges that after she filed that complaint, she sent in an email later, I think in late September or early October, saying that the respondent had relocated but was still operating the same business. So the mail wasn't returned, but I think maybe the respondent seems to be operating a scam, that maybe they're taking deposits on the same property from multiple people and only renting it to one. And there's the same type of complaints have been filed with the BBB. I don't know how many, but it sounds like more than 5. I'm sure some of them are the same complainants, but I think there's more that haven't filed a complaint with us. And I think maybe the respondent knows that that this is an issue, and he relocated and is hoping that we don't find him, or he's ignoring our mail. But based on all of the evidence and allegations, I truly believe this respondent is a danger to the public and isn't going to stop doing this unless we we discipline the respondent. So our recommendation is that the complaint be referred to the county district attorney's office, and revocation of respondent's license for multiple violations of failing to remit money.
Is there a separate complainant on each of these?
Yes, they're all different and different transactions.
Don't we have the ability to summarily and expeditiously
I feel that way. I don't.
Are there some additional due process requirements that we would have to go through in order to go down that route, though?
And this is when I wish Robin was here, because she can explain the whole litigation side of it.
Are there times we wish she
Do not put words in my mouth.
I'm going to rule that question out of order.
I do know there's certain notice things that we have to give to the respondent in this case. So there would have to be some steps to be taken.
All right, so the question that we have in front of us today is what consent order to propose and whether to refer it to the District Attorney General. But it sounds like it could be a situation that maybe you all want to look further into that, going down the road of the summary proceeding as well.
I want to add one more thing that kind of led us to this decision. In the 4 responses, the respondent admits that the deposit hasn't been returned and he's looking into it. And in each of the responses, he says the file has to be returned to them from the property management company before the deposit can be given back. And he just says, I'm going to look into this. And that was one of the complaints I know was filed in July. And his response was in September, and it had been 3 months. And in his responses, it does not seem that he takes this seriously, that he's just like, oh, I'm sorry, I'll look into it, and really putting the blame on anyone and everyone else. So I just wanted to add that.
So we can assess a civil penalty, and then what are the steps to take the license away?
Well, you can propose a consent order for revocation. That's the recommendation of council, as well as referring the matter to the District Attorney General. I think our legal staff is going to look further into the procedure for the summary revocation, which would not be something that the respondent would agree to, but it would be a procedure that we would go through to expeditiously and based on a quick presentation of the evidence and a potential finding of imminent harm to the public, we could go ahead and revoke a license. But that's not in front of us today because there's some additional steps that staff has to go through in order to give the respondent his due process rights before we can do that.
Is there a process for we can summarily suspend or summarily revoke, or is it just summarily suspend?
It's just summarily suspend.
Okay, so we can summarily suspend until we and then investigate.
I'm gonna
and
look
then
up the code section right now.
Post revocation, I think.
Yeah, that's right.
Give them a chance to
We've done that before, so.
Yeah, because you have to give them notice to come before the commission so that they can kind of explain themselves.
There's 4 or 5 separate complaints.
5 separate complaints, 4 that were responded
But
to.
you could accept a motion that summarizes commission's response to all 5 of those collectively.
Yeah, we can merge all 5.
I think we would invite that motion at this time.
I'd move that we adopt council's recommendation, offer a revocation of this principal broker's license, and include a $5,000 civil penalty to reflect 5 different complaints.
All right, we've got a motion by Chairman Grease, seconded by Commissioner Taylor for a consent order for revocation and a $5,000 civil penalty, plus referral to the District Attorney General's office. Discussion.
I need to ask her a question.
I was thinking that maybe
Commissioner
there should be an amendment that this person has to come before the commission and explain what they're doing to Marsha Franks. And so that would be punishment enough right there. So I'm silly.
All right, that motion is withdrawn.
No second.
The motion that was drawn was Bobby's, right?
Yes. Commissioner Wood's motion is withdrawn. Additional
But it would be
discussion.
fun to watch, I'll tell you.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, let's vote. All those in favor vote aye.
Aye.
All opposed vote no. That motion carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Smith.
The summary suspension, did we mention that in the
I think that's,
part of it? Oh, okay.
we will await your coming back to us on that.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Chairman Grease, I believe that concludes the legal report, and I will now pass the gavel back to you.
Thank you, Mr. McMullen. Another exceptionally well done job. Is there other business to come before the commission?
Thought we might say hello. You guys might want to say hi to Victor Henderson, who's here doing some CE today.
Oh, good.
The guy's getting 8 hours of continuing education. He's going to be out of here after about 6 hours, including an hour and a half for lunch.
Great deal for him.
Sweet.
He picked
Congratulations,
he picked
Victor.
the right day.
For free.
Yep, good job. All right, Ms. Taylor, do you want to wish me or anybody else a Merry Christmas, or do you have any comments that you'd like to make?
I have a lot of comments. But Merry Christmas to all of you, and especially our wonderful staff that we have here. I really appreciate them. I can't speak for anyone else. I really appreciate them, and I also appreciate the other.
Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Bloom?
Well, once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for setting this luncheon up for us, getting to know the staff a little bit better. And I want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas.
Thank you. Mr. Douglas, let's take care of the West Tennessee delegation collectively.
Okay, yeah, same. Just appreciate you guys very much and staff. It was a pleasure getting to go to lunch with those guys today and get to know them a little bit better. I know there's always little things that need to be taken care of, and I can tell you right now, man, this staff jumps on it and they get it done, and I appreciate you guys. Hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas. Let's don't forget about Brother Johnny. Pray for him. I'm not sure that Brother Johnny will be back in January. He may be having an additional surgery.
If you get a chance, give him a call. He's in the mood to talk.
He is. Yeah, he would very much appreciate that.
Yeah. All right, let's go to Middle Tennessee. Bobby?
Heck, I never want to pass up a chance to say Merry Christmas, and so enjoy that. I enjoy getting to come and see them and meet with this group, and like myself, I miss Johnny being here, and if Rick is the person that gets to do the prayer again or in the pledge, he's going to have to be like Johnny and tell a story, because I kind of missed the story today. So you need to have a story. But I appreciate how John and Austin run such a good tight meeting like this. Thanks.
Miss Marcia. By the way, we're going to take a vote here in a minute to see who gets the Player of the Week. I'm thinking
acclamation.
I'm thinking you might be the one.
Well, I love this group of commissioners and staff and everybody. This is a great group to work with. And I know everybody has a pure heart when it comes to all this and trying to make good, wise decisions. I apologize if I got a little too hot today, but sometimes there are hot matters that I get hot about. So, but anyhow, I appreciate everybody. I won't be here in January. I'll be on the beach in Captiva. What? I'll be thinking about you.
I bet you will.
But I hope everybody has a good Christmas and New Year's, and stay safe, and be praying for Johnny too.
Commissioner McMullen.
What did you say? Sometimes you have a hot what? Hot something? I was going to make reference to the hot checks.
I don't.
Hot checks. Hot checks and hot vacations too.
You're embarrassing me now.
Merry Christmas. Thank you. Next.
Diane.
I appreciate everybody and the staff, and I enjoy working with everyone. I learned so much from each of you and across the state, and I really appreciate learning what hot checks are, too. So you've taught me so much this trip, but I appreciate it. Merry Christmas.
So just a couple things. I've told Austin this privately, but I'll say it publicly. He's been on my mind a lot. He lost a grandmother, and then recently his parents were involved in a car accident. I hope they're doing okay. And I also made a special effort to watch Austin referee a 5A final state championship football game. And I told Austin this story already, but instead of watching something that Judy wanted to watch, we watched this football game. And I would stop it occasionally, and she's over there playing words with friends or something. She's not too excited about it. I say, look, there's Austin. I've got a freeze frame right there. And she'd look up and say, that's Austin, and go back to this like And then a little bit later, I'd freeze frame another. Here's a better shot of Austin. But anyhow, you've been on my mind, friend. I just want to let you know that.
Thank you. I forgot to say thank you publicly to Austin for being my Airbnb last night.
Second of all, I kind of like this 8:30 start this morning.
Yes.
I'm glad all of you, I hope, continue to be okay with it, because many of us will get home before dark tonight. Diane won't,
Maybe.
but not you,
No, I
Diane.
won't.
You can't do it. So anyhow, just
That's a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. But with that said, thanks, Sherry. Thanks, Denarius. Thank you. Would you tell me your first name? Lily. I knew that. I could not pull it up, but I've been calling people the wrong name all day anyhow, so it's probably just as well.
Happens.
Thanks, Caitlin. Thanks, Sarah.
Yeah, thank you, Kate.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Is this
very
all you
much.
have of this?
It's going to get me home. It's going to get me home.
All right, guys.
Those barrels.
Merry Christmas. Please drive safely.
Merry
We're
Christmas.
adjourned.
Good job.
All right.